I was created for this. Locked and loaded. This is my favorite part. I am ready. I hope you are too.
This is the Apex Legends Global Series, where the best Apex Legends competitors gather together to take their shot at playing for glory, fame, and bragging rights. When we met for Online Tournament 5, it was time for some new blood to take their place in the winner's circle, as Skirt secured the day. Having never landed higher than 8th place, Skirt made their winning debut in a big way, with a full 10-point lead over second place finisher Godsent. Once again, kills were the name of the game, as Skirt collected 37 death boxes over the 5-game set. Pow Pow and the rest of Skirt also managed 4 top 5 placements, including 2 champion finishes to help seal the deal. But today, the dropships are loading up with new challengers, all vying to take the crown. Can Rogue or Complexity claim the top slot? Or will a new challenger, like Free Smoke, show that they've got what it takes to be immortalized as champions? It's time to find out which teams are going to surprise us. Who will pull out those devious, notorious rat strats? Who is going to outshoot, outthink, and outplay their rivals? Who's pushing with R99s and PKs? And who's sitting back with a scout? Ready up and settle in. Welcome to the Apex Legends Global Series.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Apex Legends and Online Tournament 6. We are here in North America, and we all know why you're gathered here. Myself, Rain Day, and of course, Jayla and the rest of the crew working from home. And we're here to watch some Apex. We're here to play some Apex. And unfortunately, we are in a position where we just can't not acknowledge what is going on throughout the United States right now. In response to last week with George Floyd, looking at the TV, looking at Twitter, I'm sure all of you are overcome with emotion, as I am, and a member of the African American community. What I have to say is that we do this because we love it, but at this point, it's become very obvious that I don't know what needs to happen, but I think my colleagues at EA, my peers here at the show, and I'll give Jayla a chance to speak as well, know that something needs to change. We don't know how it needs to change, but we do know that something needs to change, and it is up to us to drive that change into the future.
I totally agree with you, Rain Day. It's super important that we are staying safe because we are still in the middle of a pandemic and people are still getting sick. But it's great to see so many people coming together and working towards a change.
Yeah, and I personally, Jayla, obviously it's never an easy transition to go from real world into a game. And I've had many times in my life where I felt that distractions help me to get through tough times. But at this point, I think I've personally been trying to find the right words. I know a lot of you may have as well, but know that we stand with the African American community. I myself stand with all members of the African American community and everyone who has been hit by any of this injustice or systemic bias that has been going on in the United States. We know that this is something that needs to be adjusted, and it is up to us. So it's one of those where we wanted to just make sure we all know we are with you. We all love you. We all love this game, but it's important sometimes things are bigger than just Apex Legends, and we kind of had to start the show that way. So we appreciate you guys hanging with us. We appreciate you showing up to the show as well. And it's a tough transition, of course, to go from that to something like Apex Legends and OT6 and talk about the great things ahead, but we're going to try to do it. Jayla, of course, joining with me as well. She's my co-host, and I am Rain Day. We're going to be moving into the last online qualifier before we jump into the Super Regionals in summer in North America. And we have a lot of great things to look forward to today, specifically when you break down what is going to be happening today. I think that's really where we could start off the broadcast here as well, looking at the schedule of what we can see to be transpiring here. Europe started a little bit earlier in the morning. Jayla, we saw some strong performances, and Nasky Strafendel actually picking up the win for the first time. Great games, 5 different winners in each different round. And in North America, we've got great competitors all across the board vying for that top spot yet again. We'll see members like Rogue, Liquid. We're going to see TSM again. So many good storylines coming forward. What's got you most excited today?
I'm actually pretty excited to see Nightwing back on the online tournament, though. I'm hoping to see if he can place top 3, maybe even win.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that as well. Nightwing's such a big member of our community in the Apex side of things, and excited to see him competing today. I'm sure his stream following is very excited to watch that as well. But let's look at the tournament overview, what you can expect when you're watching a game of Apex Legends, because some of you may be new. I know that you may be thinking that there's a lot to be involved in this, and there was, but today it's pretty simple. We've got 3 teams, all these teams playing 3 rounds to reach these finals, and now that they've won each of those rounds all the way through the semis into today, these teams have 5 games. And Jayla, we all know it's so important to get off to a good start, because 5 games at the end of it, we're going to be tallying the points, and the winner is obviously the one who takes home the big first place prize.
Yeah, that is actually, how much money is that? $7,200 that they're going to be taking home if they get first place. So something good to fight for here.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, too, you mentioned it as well. This is a pandemic. Before, all of this which has been kind of taking over the news as well. And everyone's hearts were going out to the fact that a lot of people economically had to shift gears because of the way COVID-19 has affected all of us. And it's just always great to see the prizing come forward, which we'll bring up on your screen soon as well, that these players have a chance to earn now that wasn't there before, with all of the EA lands getting canceled. And hopefully those will be coming back when it is safe and when we are doing it responsibly. But first place, second place, third place there, you see Jayla, 7,200. You were right. 4,400 for second, and then of course third place with 2,700. Not too bad. These teams definitely a great time to be earning while you're at home staying safe.
For sure, it's cool that they have the opportunity to still make money, even though there are less opportunities during the pandemic. So it's cool to see them working hard and their hard work paying off in this tournament.
And that I think has been the kind of the sign of North America. There's been so many different teams, and you have to tell this story in little bits and pieces. But I think overall, we've seen a lot of teams work very hard to get into the conversation of the best team in NA, right? Before we even began doing these online tournaments, there was no doubt in anyone's mind it was TSM. And there may be no doubt now. But at the end of the day, we do see TSM having had a few, I would say, rougher weeks trying to figure out some of these new lineups, some of the changes after being so successful for so long. And teams like Liquid, teams like Rogue, teams like Skirt, Sola Fide having fantastic performances and really pushing themselves up the echelon of being, I think, considered maybe one of the top teams, if not the top team in North America, given their performance in that week. This is also the top 20 teams that are participating, Jayla, in today's matchup.
Yeah, it's cool to see that TSM is back on the roster. We see them. We didn't see them last time, but it's cool to see them back. Hopefully they can bring another win home for Hal's birthday, maybe.
Hey, Big Hal, got to give a shout out. You know, it's a birthday for a member of our community. Obviously, you can't really go many places right now to celebrate. So I think he's in many ways, though, strikes me as a guy who would want to be winning a tournament on his birthday more so than anything else. So we'll see how that ends up affecting his performance and the rest of TSM today. Jayla, I think this just leads us to teams that are going to be entering that conversation. We always kind of look at what teams are you eyeing starting out the North American side or the European side. And North America, we've got a few teams that have really caught your eye and caught my eye as well. And here they are: Aim Assist, TSM, Complexity, Rogue, and Yeet Squad, who we're highlighting today. Jayla, why did these teams, and maybe one team in particular, why did they stand out to you?
I like the Aim Assist squad, full controller squad. I feel like they're here to make a statement for controller players. So I'm interested to see how they match up against mouse and keyboard players, and I don't know, maybe they might win, and we might have to put more respect on controller players.
I mean, you know, to be honest, sometimes the most controversial conversation is mouse and keyboard versus controller. Who's better? How much does aim assist have, an impact into improving your gameplay? It seems like whatever side, the grass is always greener on the other side, the way I look at it. But what's your thought on that? And especially with controllers entering a full controller squad into a very heavy PC lobby as well.
I mean, me personally, I suck on controllers, so I can't sit here and say that the aim assist helps me at all. I know they're just as talented as the mouse and keyboard players. They do have some pros and some cons as well as like mouse and keyboard, but I do think that it is a fair competition no matter what peripheral you're using.
Yeah, you know, I totally agree. And I think one guy, though, that kind of takes a little bit of the credence to any of those arguments and throws them into the water is one guy named Nicewig. He ends up doing something that not a lot of people can do. I certainly can't. I can play in Bronze 4 pretty well with a mouse and keyboard. But this guy, he can go all the way to Predator on both a controller and a keyboard, which is one of the most phenomenal things I've heard of. Jayla, talk just a little bit about how Nicewig stands out to you as a competitor and what you're excited about his team doing in this tournament.
Nicewig, honestly, I would probably say he's one of the most wholesome guys in the community. Super talented. I think he was probably one of the first people on a controller that I really saw like go crazy on a controller. So it's cool to see him like make a name for himself in the community. And I look forward to seeing like how he does in this tournament because we don't usually get to see him on here too often.
Yeah, and you know what? To be honest, speak of the man himself, we had a chance to catch up a little bit with Nicewig before this tournament. Obviously, looking for bright hopes, a guy who I saw in Poland for the first time and has been competing ever since at the highest level. Let's check in with Nicewig as he gets ready for OT6.
My play style is aggressive yet strategic. I'll play for zones more than I'll play for kills. My name is Jack Martin, also known as Nicewig. I am a controller professional player on PC. For Counterlogic Gaming, I was the first controller player ever signed to a tier 1 organization, and I'm also known as the guy who Dizzy hosted.
I'm playing with Dizzy? What is going on?
Dizzy was like one of the biggest pioneers for Apex when it first started out. But right before a week I was about to quit, we did a glitch and I couldn't talk because I ripped my mic out of excitement. Right when he hosted me, I kind of just hysterically cried.
It's crazy, man. This is actually the craziest moment of my life.
It just literally meant so much to me. We joined, I out-damaged him and out-killed him one game. And then he found out I was on controller. And he was like, what? This kid plays controller? He's like, he's insane. Let's go! I was one of the first ones to prove that controller players could keep up with PC players, because when Apex first came out, all the big streamers, all the big names that were playing weren't touching a controller. PC players have the advantage over us, so I think people were kind of mind blown that I was like overcoming that disadvantage and still killing like the top players. Watch my hand cam. I move my hands really fast. The speed that I move everything at and like the intensity I play at. So I think that's why I break a lot of controllers. I just broke my controller wire. Mouse and keyboard time. I'm playing mouse and keyboard, I'm playing mouse and keyboard, I'm playing mouse and keyboard. What makes the difference between like a streamer that's like growing and a streamer that's already set at the top? They'll probably make the most out of whatever they have. Becoming a professional Apex player takes a lot of practice, a lot more than I thought. It sounds cringy, it sounds corny. Shit's not as easy as you think it is. I main Pathfinder in pubs, I main Watson in scrims, and Lifeline in ranked because I'm just all over the place.
Remember this, I'm the one you should have concerns about.
The best thing about Lifeline is her passive when she's rezzing. It's really cool that like she puts the shield up, and obviously her faster res can change the game. Both of my parents are super supportive, and my brother. Go have fun. Like, go do what you want. She's like, you want to go and play video games? Go and play video games. I just want you happy. If I didn't try this, I would have regretted my whole life. I would have been on Twitter every morning, being like, why the fuck am I not this guy? Love you guys. Thank you for supporting me. I would not be here without you guys. The hard times that I got through when I was depressed, and this is only the beginning. And I can guarantee that we're only going to go up from here. I'm going to make you guys even more proud.
A man clearly on a mission. Nice wig. We're going to be excited to follow his journey through OT6 as we head into the games very, very soon for those who have been watching and patiently waiting. And of course, you can see Nice Wig, that tweet right there, giving some love to him. And I think when you look at it, Jayla, Nice Wig is the kind of guy that you actually root for in games. He's just, like you said, so wholesome. You want to see this guy succeed.
Yeah, definitely a wholesome, humble guy, super talented. So I've been rooting for him for a very long time now.
And let's bring this into the bigger conversation, which is Super Regionals, guys. This is coming up. We just announced this. June 21st is number 1. July 12th, 26th as well in July. And then August 9th, 5:45 p.m. start BST for EMEA. And the Americas, 3:45 p.m. as well. Just get this little wire back around my shirt as this thing has a mind of its own. But Jayla, Super Regional, super exciting just because of the fact that I think you're going to see even more mixtures of the greatest teams fighting against each other. It's just better competition, essentially.
Definitely. It'll be cool to see like what newer people are adding to the competition, and we're going to see faces that we haven't been able to see before. Not saying they haven't been competing, but we'll actually get to see the faces of the people that have been competing that in this competition.
And you'll see in North America, so many people have been doing so well. And if you guys want to be involved in getting in the show or mentioning or following along with everything that's going on with Apex Legends, here's 2 ways to do it. 1, @PlayApex. Make sure you follow on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch. And of course, if you want to be involved in the broadcast, get your tweet up like we just read over there. Use hashtag ALGS. That is the best way to be involved. Jayla, you know, if you were going to tweet something that would be on the show, what do you think would we throw up there? You know, what tweet could you come up with that we would have to, you know, show on broadcast?
I don't know. I would just tweet about who I was rooting for, who I wanted to see, like, take it home. I'm not sure, honestly.
I'm trying to give, Jayla didn't have it for you guys. I think, I'm trying to give you guys some secrets to getting on the ALGS broadcast. I think if you mention Rain.
Well, as much as we love to hear from Rainday and Jayla, it looks like they got cut off pretty quickly because Hodzik, who I'm, enamored to be casting alongside, the fact that we've got games waiting to get underway. We got to get into the first game of online tournament number 6 for North America. I'm super excited about this one. How are you feeling about the lay of the land in North America at the moment?
I'm really excited, especially coming off a really, really strong and fun European tournament. This lobby is stacked. I mean, I'm talking, you got Rogue, NRG, Aim Assist, the newly signed Sentinels. Complexity, TSM, Team Liquid, Noble White, and many others. I'm looking down the list of all these names, and these are names I've been seeing for a long time in scrims. A lot of veteran players. This is one of the most stacked North American tournaments for sure. Since we've seen these online tournaments.
I would have to completely agree with you. It was something that I was going to bring up myself. The fact that we have so many huge names, and not only names, teams who have performed in these online tournaments as well, teams that have performed at LANs as well, the return of TSM to the finals of the tournament as well. And we have to talk about them. Absent last time, definitely going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder coming into this tournament, maybe looking to prove some of the doubters wrong that may have looked and thought maybe TSM are falling off a little bit with their non-appearance in the finals last time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every player in here is an absolute competitor. None of them like to fail. And there are a lot of people on this list that I've seen that did not make the last tournament, and they're going to come back with that fire. And the teams that have been coasting comfortably in every single finals are probably going to have to watch out for them, especially for sure.
Well, let's talk about the lineup that you mentioned. Sentinels returning to competitive Apex Legends, and we will talk about that in just a second, because as you can see in front of us, it's our job to talk you through the points and scoring if you're just joining us for the first time. 12 points for first place. Placement in any of these games, and you can see the points as they go down with the placements. But the big thing for me is those additional kill points. 1 point per kill for your team, and that has really been the swing Hodzik that we've seen. Big kill performance in one game with a decent placement really puts you in a strong position to win one of these tournaments.
Absolutely, and that favors a lot of the teams that like to play edge for sure, especially the very strong mechanical teams that are really good at aiming, really good at team fighting. They're going to be the ones typically either in the zone, looking to pick off the weaker teams, but there are a lot of stronger edge game teams like Complexity, where they will their game plan is to roam around the edge of the circle and just slaughter every team that they come across, and those kill points rack up really fast.
Yeah, and it actually brings me back to the point that we were talking about before, and I was about to sort of introduce, is talking about Sentinels, because as I say, returning to Apex Legends, and what a scary lineup that is. I mean, you've got Senox returning, and then you've obviously got Peach and Crust joining that lineup. I mean, we talk about scary lineups, so you can pretty much pick any team off of the page to my right at the moment, and you'll be like, oh, that's a scary lineup. But, the raw mechanical ability and decision-making in this team has to make them one of the favorites for online tournament number 6.
Oh, absolutely. And these Senox, obviously, he's been with Sentinels for quite some time with his teammates Zombs and Red Sea leaving. However, Peach and Crust have been in the scene since the very beginning. Peach has been on several teams. Crust was on former E United. And these are all just tremendous players. I think Senox is one of the most underrated support players for sure. He can hold it down no matter what angle he needs to do to support his team if they're like back in a gunfight. I mean, Crust as well. Peach, they have just insane aim, and I'm actually really excited to see what they do in this one.
Yeah, also with the introduction of Season 5, we have to bring up as well, we talked about it a little bit earlier on in the European competition with some of the changes that we've seen to different legends and, some balancing we're seeing across, and the changes in meta compositions that we saw quite a lot in Europe, and they seem to sort of pioneer a lot of the time some of those meta changes that we do see. How do you see those changes in Season 5 affecting some of these teams' compositions, or do you feel it's going to be a case of North America sticking to what they know and trying to be consistent with what has brought them success so far in Apex Legends?
I don't think too much is going to change. Not much has changed in this patch in terms of competitive meta with compositions. Pretty much everything that's already been run is still viable. On top of, throw in the sliver that Caustic is now usable. However, I think the general principle and understanding in NA is that Caustic isn't that great on World's Edge. If we ever see the map shift back to Kings Canyon, I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of teams swap to Caustic, as his ability to hold houses is far stronger on that map because they're of the simple layouts than this map for sure. So you might see a Caustic team here and there, but it's not going to be, the lobby certainly won't be overrun with them. Not quite yet, at least.
Now, it's my opportunity to kind of pick your brain a little bit just before we get into game number 1 of our 5-game series, of course. This is a stack lobby. We've talked about it enough times. What teams are you looking for that maybe aren't, in that top 3 conversation that we have a lot of the time, that could surprise us a little bit here and maybe put a real run together to become online tournament number 6 champions?
The teams that we haven't talked about, or at least the analyst desk hasn't talked about, I think Noble White is one of the first ones that strike me. They're a bit of a black sheep in the Apex community. They're not as well known as a lot of the other big teams, but they're a team that I think has come a long way in terms from what I've seen from them before, way past in the past in tournaments and scrims. Every tournament they've done better and better, and they're starting to carve out a name for themselves. So Noble White is definitely one of those teams that not a lot of teams know about, people know about. But I would not be surprised if they made a name for themselves in this tournament.
Well, we're just getting our lobby set up. We've had a little bit of a restart, hence why we're not quite into game number 1 yet, but it does, as I say, give us the opportunity to discuss some of these teams and kind of give you guys at home, and of course, always thank you for watching and joining us, the chance to get a little bit more background information on some of these teams and, how they put their games together. And one team I actually want to talk about a little bit is Complexity, because Complexity in every tournament that we've seen, I should say, excuse me, I've get carried away with myself. The last 2 tournaments that we've seen, game number 1 has been perfect for them. They couldn't ask for more. Big win, big kill points, but they seem to fall away a little bit. What would you contribute to that to as someone who is deeply involved in the Apex scene and the pro and the way that the pros kind of react to things and how they've discussed things between tournaments?
Yeah, so your initial thought was actually right. It was actually the last 3. The last 3 tournaments, they started out with a monster first game. I'm obviously, for those that know me, I know that I'm very good friends with the Complexity guys, and I am going to officially coin the term the Complexity Curse, where they start out yeah, where they start out with a massive first game and then kind of taper off towards the middle to the end. So I'm interested to see if they can break the Complexity Curse, because I think these 3 players are absolutely, by and large, this is one of the this team reminds me of the old Sentinels team with Retzi, Zoms, and Senox. And what I mean by that is, in terms of a hard, just straight 3v3 fight, one of the hardest teams I thought to fight in the game. If you give them an inch, they will go 10 miles. And Complexity is no different than that. Their playstyle is very aggressive. They don't care what team you are. They will push you. And if it's a fair 3v3 fight, there's a big chance they'll win. I mean, they just have insanely mechanically gifted players, and they have insane chemistry together. Watching them play is a sight to behold.
So we talked about the Complexity Curse a little bit. Why do you think maybe that performance level does fall off a little bit, given so much mechanical skill, so much ability that is contained in the fingers and the hands of these 3 players? Is it a momentum thing? Do you think that adrenaline maybe gets the better of them after a huge game 1?
So I usually have a chance to talk to them a lot in between these tournaments, and a lot of things I know, at least in the last tournament that Monsoon told me specifically happened was, they come out to this crazy game 1, but then their play style is very simple. They play the edge. If they run into you, they will push you and kill you. And a lot of what he told me was happening after their first game was simply they couldn't find anyone. All of a sudden, teams weren't rotating ahead of them at the normal timings that they were, and it was a lot more difficult for them to just find people to kill, and it becomes difficult to get those points because most of their points are kill points. They play mainly on kill points. They can play placement very well, but that's just not their style. So they really heavily rely on just being able to find a team, take a smart fight, and just destroy them in a 3v3.
Okay, well, keep your eyes on Complexity, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to see some high kill games, I'm sure that we're going to see, the kill feed lighten up with some Complexity names as these games do roll on. Let's take an opportunity to talk about Solar Fide as well, because whenever I'm watching scrims, they always seem to be one of those teams who loves to rotate early. They take that early, I hate to call it the TSM meta, but what they made so successful, and they seem to be adapting it very, very well themselves. And we consistently see them qualifying to these grand finals and putting up pretty good placements in both scrims and, of course, the tournaments. What would you attribute their success to, I should say, in these tournaments and in scrims, for names that maybe aren't as huge in comparison to some of the names we do have in the Apex Legends competitive scene?
I find this one kind of funny because I'm pretty decent friends with Clarify on the team. I've teamed with him in the past for one of the tournaments. And anytime I congratulate him, I always like to see the guy succeed. I think he's a highly underrated player. Anytime I congratulate him, he's like, "It wasn't me, man. I just got 2 controllers on my team." So, I mean, these are all veteran players. They know the circles. They from what I understand, they tend to be a team that favors placement a little bit more. They go for those zones. They try to play the circle smart, but they are all, again, another team that just they prefer not to fight. But if they do, they've become really, really, really strong at fighting together, and it shows in their consistent performances. And I think the last 2 tournaments, they're definitely. I mean, it's hard to say they're a team to look out for in a lobby like this because like 15 of these teams are a team to look out for.
Yeah.
It could be anybody's game this tournament.
Yeah, I think that's the fascinating thing here is the fact that we have the opportunity to kind of this little moment before we get first game underway to kind of delve into the, you know, how stacked this lobby is and exactly why these teams are performing so well. Just looking across here and, you know, we're looking, it's the fourth finals appearance here for Solar Fide, which is incredibly impressive. Top 3 finishes in week 2 and 4. You know, you can't argue with that kind of consistency. And for me, the reason that I wanted to bring them up is because I think it's time that we do start talking about them a little bit more alongside some of those bigger organizations, those more well-known names that we have seen in Apex Legends. So certainly keep an eye out for Solar Fide as we move through the tournament. But now I give you the opportunity, Hodzik, to pick one team that you think is going to perform incredibly well in this tournament. The one who's going to take it home. Who do you think it's going to be? And I know that you want to say Liquid, but you're not allowed to. Okay, so let's
I don't.
get them out the equation.
I'm not allowed
let's,
to.
let's get your thoughts on how you think Online Tournament 6 is going to go.
I don't know if they're going to take it, but I think the one team that'll surprise most viewers is NRG, because NRG's always been this super hyped organization in Apex, you know, with Ace and Dizzy and all of its various variations. But their performances always fell really flat. But what a lot of people don't know about these about NRG is that this is Frex's old roster, and he did some really good work with Nathan and Rocker in GLL. It was the first time they were played together, and they got 4th place. So, and this is what led to Frex getting signed. So this is actually an insanely strong roster, and Frex, I think it really paves the way for Frex to show his way as an IGL and how smart he really is at the game.
All right, then. Well, we've given you our opinions on teams to watch, what you can expect to see from teams' play styles, and you can see now that it is officially time to get game number 1 underway. 5 games in the series to rack up those points, rack up those KP, as well as the placement points to put yourself in position to call yourself the North American Online Tournament 6 champion. Excited to see how we're going to start this game off. If we're going to see early battles. But Hodzik, I mean, we're seeing the flight path going from north to south on the west side of the map to start with, and we're going to be dropping in extremely soon, as you can see the players leaving the drops here.
Absolutely, and for those that aren't super in tune with competitive Apex, the drop flight path is extremely important. It dictates how much time you have to actually loot. So in this flight path in particular, any team going refinery is going to have way less time to loot because the timer for the first zone is going to start way before say somebody who drops at Mirage, which I believe is Team Rogue. So this is going to be it's very important where the plane path goes, and it's always important to take that into account when rotating, because again, if there's a thermal circle, the teams at refinery they're going to have a tough time getting through the zone and getting the loot that they need to go.
Yeah, we've seen it so many times. Just a few seconds on a rotation can really harm you, can completely put you behind 2 or 3 teams who use that extra 2 or 3 seconds to get ahead of you. And when they're ahead of you, that means that spot's going to be taken. So difficult if you are falling into those kind of criteria early on. However, you can see all teams have seemed to land pretty safely here. And this team here is going to be Swervesy, Kane, and the Rambo are going to be able to loot pretty comfortably on the train uncontested. Now they're going to be moving to the little settlement just outside of Fragment, maybe looking to pick up a beacon on their way past.
Yeah, you saw they got the train, but it didn't seem like they got anything all that crazy out of the train. So they're just going to be hitting what a lot of pro players call No Name, that little compound east of Fragment Nice, where we're seeing TSM right now. So, we see Sama's team here doing the trials, actually, which isn't something you see, honestly, all that often.
And we saw a little bit in the last tournament, and obviously a pretty good way to pick up a little bit of loot on your way, and not too much of an area that is contestable. Also, a little bit of caustic being brought out here by Junior Claw, so that's going to be interesting as we get towards those end circles. We know how important, of course, making sure your caustic player gets to that end circle. He can be so devastating, and I'm going to paraphrase you a little bit here, Hodzik, but I'm pretty sure that you said if you're the only caustic in the end game, you win the game.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the most annoying things about him is the only thing to counter Caustic is basically Caustic. Sure, his ult gets eaten by the Watson pylon. However, the barrels do not. If you happen to get a barrel off in that last pin drop circle, which you'll hear me commonly referring to that if you aren't sure what a pin drop circle is, it's that very last circle that's literally as thin as a pin. If Caustic gets any gas in that zone or in that circle, he basically just wins. And the only way to counter that is to have another Caustic who does not get affected by the gas. So Caustic has this very interesting effect of, if a good team is running Caustic, it forces other teams to also run Caustic. So this is something some pros call the X Games effect, because this was a big thing in the X Games in the last summer. A lot of squads, I think TSM popularized it. They started running Caustic in scrims, and then all of a sudden, and they were obviously doing very well. A lot of other teams started running Caustic, leading right up to the tournament. They never did. And then X Games rolled around, and then everybody all of a sudden got too afraid, and then nobody ran it. It was very, very interesting. But if you see any of these teams doing really well with it, don't be surprised to see some of the teams maybe swapping to it.
We're going to jump on board here with the new look Sentinels lineup, and it's going to be Senox, who we're going to be watching the point of view of, obviously running the main as the Wraiths, as his main here, as Peach and Crust are going to be running the Gibraltar and the Watson, so they're pretty much set up to play edge circle, or however they want to rotate in towards the circles as they move towards the map. I did get an opportunity to look at that first circle, and you can see it here towards the north, very central north of the map, maybe finishing around potentially the survey camp, or going a little bit more northwards. What are your thoughts on your predictions for a circle here, Hoptic, just within that first initial circle on the map?
World Edge circles can always be so tricky. This one, to me, if I were reading it without the Pathfinder beacon, looks like it could be ending that little train station north of Capital City, or kind of in like the fields to the east of that. I've seen a lot of these circles also recently tend to pull towards Survey Camp. But if I were reading this circle, if I were calling my team's rotations, I'd probably be reading it somewhere around there.
And I think it's something that we should kind of discuss as we actually see Shiny being taken out by a long-range shot. And I'm looking at the kill feed, and we have lost our first team, but also Complexity are in a battle themselves. I saw a massive shot being landed to knock down a player, so Complexity already getting busy, but BCJ is going to be the last man alive here running the Watson. And that's not the way that you want to be starting a game. Number one, we talked about Complexity, and you called it the Complexity curse. I'm calling it the Complexity first game wonders that they pull off. Let's see if they can do that again, as they're now patrolling the ridge here, looking over fragment around the epicenter. And having a rough game one really means that you put pressure on yourselves moving forward. And Complexity, again, trying to have a repeat performance of that game number one that they've become known for.
Absolutely. We've already seen a little bit of action in the kill feed. Team Liquid actually went out as the first team to TSM, I believe, pretty early on. And then we see the Complexity taking out two of the members from iShiny's squad. But I did note that one of the finishes on iShiny's squad was actually from from Zeratricky's team. So there is another team in the area. Not sure if Complexity is looking for him, but I know they're holding this high ground, because this high ground is extremely advantageous to hold. When you're playing a Gibraltar team, actually we see BCJ trying to snake the banners here. Let's see if he can actually pull it off.
Sneaking banners.
He's only going for iShiny.
Would be certainly something they want to do at this point. There's going to be a few teams around at the moment, but it looks like with teams rotating in, just getting that res off as quickly as possible, and hopefully being able to get somewhere near that loot that was dropped to at least give them a gun, at least give them a fighting chance. You can see a white armor there in that box as well, the loot box, which means that it's going to be the opportunity for them to at least have a little bit of armor. And he's also managed to get some Watson fences down in the bottom of this central tower in Epicenter, so that's going to give an escape plan, at least, hopefully. It looks like he knows that there's a team above, and poor old iShiny here drops out of the dropship, gets shot in the back about 300 times, but somehow manages to stay alive here with about 5 HP to his name.
Just Wraith things. It almost seems like they never die. And then we see the team above actually committing a portal to try to get that finish on iShiny. Not a bad use of the portal to try to hopefully pick or get an easy kill point. As you see, the Wraith calls it off, says, "No can do. We got to go back to the battle station."
And that's something that I think, in my opinion, we start to see more and more as the weeks have gone past in these online tournaments. It is a slightly different format from what we saw back in Poland, for example, where even if you were in position and you were top of the leaderboard, you had to win a game in order to secure that victory. But in the format that we play here, I think a few more teams are getting hungrier and are willing to be a bit more aggressive with those Wraith portals to try and pick off some third-party opportunities to put those KP on the board.
No, absolutely. I mean, take a look at this. This is so the amount of action is typically always determined by the circle. Is the rotation hard to the circle? Is the circle have force a lot of close quarters? But a circle like this is very open. It has a lot of room for 20 teams to move. You already see a lot of players going down Like I said, one squad already completely out. A couple players down. I think there's 2 separate players on 2 separate squads down. So a lot of early fighting here. I think teams really looking to come off to a hot start. But we'll see if they can actually manage to keep up. The big thing to be looking for here is that teams don't overcommit. For example, if Complexity here were to jump down and fight a team, they could risk losing their spot. So going to be really interested to see how much teams are playing for their next position rather than just going for a couple kills.
We're going to see a very, very wide rotation here, taking some damage from the circle and trying to maybe just get into a position on the edge of circle to re-establish themselves. But with the pieces in hand, that's certainly going to help if a short-range battle does break out. But now we're going to see Sentinels once again involved in a fight, and it's actually going to be Pichu who's going to be taken out of the game here, so his banner will have to be collected. It looks like Stenox is going to try and escape this particular position they found themselves in and maybe just reset, rethink about how they want to attack their next rotation on the map here. But losing one player early on here for Sentinel, not the best of circumstances for them to find themselves in, as we see now Crush just sitting himself down, maybe trying to hold down this position and cover as much ground as possible, trying to stop anyone rotating in on them.
We see Complexity actually third-partying. It was HRN, Hill's team, that actually got the knock on Peach, but now we see Complexity taking shots at them. And notice, if you remember, Complexity took that strong rotational spot up in Epicenter. Look where they are now. This is what I was talking about. I mean, they just want to push teams. They go for those kill points. I'm assuming they're hunting someone down with this portal. They're just
you can
out
see that poor player desperately trying to get away, but the only problem is the scariest thing in the world in Apex Legends is having a wild monsoon running at you, and that is exactly what he's doing. I don't know who it is running at the moment, but all I know is I feel incredibly sorry for him at this point because he's got the entirety of the Complexity lineup chasing them down, desperately trying to kill him.
It's from HRN's team. So HRN is completely out now, and that's another strong team right there. Sauce, RKN, and Hill. Not sure what happened on RKN, but yeah, I mean, like I said, they had a spot in the zone. This is the only team in this tournament that would have rotated all the way to the southern end of the circle just to get a couple kill points, and that's what I'm talking about. As we see Solifide getting in a bit of a scrap.
The Complexity, I love it when that happens. I love it when you use something up as a commentator and you see it in effect not only in game but in the first game as well. Complexity showing how they love to play the game, and Solifide as well getting involved in a battle and going through that portal. But the problem is the player did get knocked in it, and now Watson fences, are going to go up. But it looks like the only problem here for Clarify is he's being pushed, and him and Metro are going to have to retreat here as they have lost their Wraith player Pride. So that means they'll now be down to a 2-man, and maybe that push didn't quite go the way that they were expecting, and certainly the way they would have hoped.
And that's 3 teams again. That's not actually just 2, like 1-3-3. Solifide was originally pushing aim assist here, as you see Gentrifying just trying to lay low in the zone. This was the initial fight, and then Solifide took the portal to chase Gentrifying down, and all of a sudden they were met with Silver Fox, no Coco squad. So yeah, you see a lot of crazy aggression. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of angry tweets at some of the pushes some of these teams are doing later on Twitter.
Well, that also gives us something to look forward to when the tournament is over. We love a little bit of Twitter drama. We love it in competitive gaming. We love to see players, showing their passion. But for Gentrifying now, it's just a matter of survival here and trying to sneak into some placement points. And he's going to have some damage, but it's not going to be sneaky enough. And he'll be taken down almost immediately. And now I'm looking at the kill feed again, and I'm seeing Reptar, this time with a drop for Complexity. So Complexity doing what they do best, and that's being aggressive, as Monsoon picks up a kill onto Piche as well in that kill feed. So Complexity kill points on the board for them, and 17 squads remaining as we're about to see our third circle. 2 minutes left on this one. Solifide moving towards survey camp, just setting up here, and they're going to be forced to play the edge of circle.
Yeah, and without Pride, it's going to be a lot harder for them to rotate into zones and whatnot in tricky spots. With just being a Watson and Gibraltar, that's absolutely zero mobility. You see they have to rotate uphill with like 3 teams around them. Shooting here is an interesting decision because now teams are going to know that they're here. Their rotation is going to look a little rough without a Wraith, so good luck to them. But Clarify's a smart player. I'm sure he'll be able to figure it out.
This is sometimes getting these disadvantageous points on the board. It really can put a little bit of confidence in you if you can pull something off as a 2-man team and, let's say, set yourself up for that next game by getting out of there with something to talk about and something to hold on to at least. But 303 here going to be set up in this building. just to the west of Fragment, of course, by the train station. And although they don't have much armor to talk about, they pretty much don't have any armor to talk about as far as colors are concerned anyway, they do at least have a decent position for that potential end circle. So they're going to be waiting for teams to make mistakes, maybe rotate into them and try and take him down.
Yeah, it does seem to be that circle that I was calling earlier, where it was the train station north of Capital. And whereas they have 3 whites, and that could be problematic. So if you're a team in the circle and you have 3 gray armors like that, the biggest and most important thing you do is that you try not to take, you continue to scalp, but you try not to take damage. Because the more, if a team puts shots on you and they identify all of your armors as gray, you are very likely to get sent to Bon and cleaned up very quickly. So for them, they just gotta lay low. Hope any team that pushes them gets third party. Joey Blackout here with aggressive plays.
Yeah, we're seeing the shots come in here, and Joey Blackout with the Mastiff is trying to get the finish here because I think he realized that his teammates had fallen and maybe a KP was the best kind of situation they could have got out of there with. Unfortunately, he doesn't manage to get that finish, and that team will get the comfortable wipe onto him. The R9 shots are going to scare off that player as well. So now you're going to see Mercy only just holding down that portal and just making sure that no one rotates in on them. But 16 squads remaining still. Not too many teams dropping at the moment. But as you said earlier, we are seeing some aggression here. We talk American sides looking to take fights and looking to put pressure onto everyone in the lobby.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fragmented teams. You know, it's only 4 squads down, but a lot of fragmented teams. You see, like Solfide here. I'm not sure if iShiny's team is still alive. I saw Nicewig's team in that little fray just now by Epi. I'm not sure. The kill feed was a little confusing to make out. But yeah, that rough rotation I was telling you about. No raid, Hill. All you have is Gibraltar and Watson. I'd be surprised if they make half the trouble.
Yeah, this is a difficult situation for them. I think they're going to have to hope that maybe a third party comes in and tries to help them out, but Metro's going to be taken down to about 10 HP as well. And now, I mean, Clarify, somehow they've managed to stay alive this long. And as you say, the third party did buy them a little bit of time, but are they going to use that time to their maximum? Are they going to be able to get a rotation underway and find their way towards that circle? Because they still are outside of it. As we do see the longbow shots, at least connecting to back that player down.
Oh, it seems like they're out of meds too. You see Clarify, I think he's popping the only bat that Metro gave him. Clarify tossing a med kit to Metro. It doesn't seem like they have a lot of meds left. Not a lot of shoots in the tank. Garapa's team here kind of pinned down. I think this is a team that was third party and actually crossed some time. And now they're getting shot in the back. Sandwiched by both teams. They are absolutely the meat of this sandwich right now as they go down.
Yeah, that's good. That caustic trap was bounced off a backboard straight into his face, unfortunately, and that is something that I would do on a basketball court, and that's unfortunately what happened to the caustic there. And now we're going to jump on board with Noble, and we're going to see them as the team that you picked out as certainly one to watch that could surprise a few teams in this lobby. You can see exactly why here as Noble picks up 1 kill there onto Zera, and that's going to be a KP on the board for them. And it looks like loot-wise, they're pretty comfortable at the moment here, Hodzik.
Yeah, I mean, they got a gold. Their Wraith's got a kitted R9. I mean, a gold and 2 blues is considered pretty decent loot in an environment like this. Keep in mind, you aren't looting as much as you are in your ranked and your pub games. You know, what you got in what you're given in your particular point of interest that you land in, that's basically what you got until you start fighting. So, a gold and 2 blues is certainly nothing to scoff at.
Now we're going to see the gold armor being picked up here as Mercy's just trying to do what he can and fill out that inventory before they make their push and their assault onto this circle. Another team here, like you mentioned, just down to 2 players in the game. 13 squads remaining, as I see in the kill feed as well. Imperial How for TSM, picking up a down there onto Zach. He was trying to rotate in as well and take that fight, but now we're going to see them forced into the ring here with around 30 seconds remaining, and that position is so difficult because there's going to be so many teams who are just scouting here, like we're seeing Noble White do here, trying to hold any of these teams out on edge of circles who are trying to rotate in late.
Absolutely, and as you see, Noble's going to be trying to pinch this team and gatekeep them, but they have to worry themselves about getting pinched now because there's a lot of high ground they can get shot from in the back right here. So it's important that they clean this up really fast, get the armor swaps, and it seems like they're just cooling. TSM sitting on like the best part in the zone right now. I was telling you, North Train Station. TSM looks like they got that RV down on lock, so we'll see a potentially very, very strong finish to this first game from them.
TSM looking good as far as positions are concerned. Like you mentioned, set up for that end circle and some beautiful scout shots there from Albalelli as well to back those players down, wasting all of their resources as they try and rotate in late to this circle as well. And the scout, such a devastating weapon for doing damage and just draining the resources of the teams who are trying to push in. I'm just looking across the ammo though. He has not got too many shots to put in here. Only 12 in the chamber and around 50. And no surprise here to see How as well pushing in with Reps to finish off those kills, and they're going to retreat pretty quickly here. Reps is going to be left to do the looting duties because I was looking at the light ammo there for How, and no surprise, the memes will be out. How needs light ammo, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, and unfortunately, Albalelli does as well. So we'll see if there's enough to go around. You know, with Albalelli and How going back, retreating after those kills, the call is being made, I'm sure, for Reps to they're asking Reps for certain loot, and I'm sure they're asking for that light ammo.
And the big thing here as well for TSM is the fact that with that push onto that team, they've pretty much cleared out their west side of anyone who was rotating in now. So now they could just concentrate on one side of the map, on teams trying to rotate into them. And when you've only got to worry about teams pushing from one side, it's essentially going to give you free reign to rain down shots on teams who are all going to be fighting each other as they rotate in.
Absolutely. This is going to be a death rotate. I mean, it'll probably be left with like 3 squads left after this one. Not too much ground to play that TSM isn't already covering.
One team that are
their opportunity now to pick up a lot of kill points, though.
Yeah, KP falling into the hands of TSM here. One team that was still in position, though, to maybe cause them some trouble was Rogue, and we're seeing them fighting at the moment. You see Dropped and Sweet both picking up downs in the kill feed, and it looks like TSM have got the call as well that Rogue might be close and possibly sniffing an opportunity to move in on that position that they are in. So you can see Albalelli now coming under fire, but managing to get back up to that high ground to lay down some damage for How and Reps to potentially finish off those kills as they rotate in.
Yeah, so the big thing is, obviously, TSM has a very good spot in the circle. The next circle, the pin drop circle, is actually it looks like it can be sometimes buggy on the map from the spectator standpoint, but it looks like it's actually pretty close to Noble. And Noble is the most geared here with 2 golds and a red. Keep in mind, TSM's been doing a lot of killing, but they're not all completely geared here, as you see How with gold, but the Reps and Alb at this stage in the game with only blue, and their guns aren't that ideal. You see Alb really with a Scout and Eva. Not the most ideal. It can work, but not the most ideal. As you see, they're pinging out all the teams. I'm really trying to get a cheeky angle here.
TSM in a perfect position to potentially win this game. However, they don't have the armor, but they do have the positioning on the map. And with just 3 squads remaining here, it's just a question of timing here. For TSM. You can see them set up. They're waiting for those 2 teams to engage. And that's when TSM are going to try and strike. As soon as they see maybe 1 knock, maybe 2 knocks, that's when that accelerator is going to be pushed.
Absolutely. Every team, all 3 teams here are thinking, what can we do to stall and make sure we're not the first team that has to fight? Because typically, BR 101, 3 squads left. Typically, the first 2 squads to fight are the ones that are going to go down. So, it being 3 full squads of 3, you see Noble destroying the Watson ult so that he can actually not grief his own Caustic's ult. Very smart play here. We'll see how it works out.
We'll have to see if that caustic does have a big effect as well as it moves towards that end circle with just 3 squads remaining. And one of them having that caustic on hand, you have to think maybe they're going to be in a position to do some serious damage. I'm just looking at the shields of How here being dropped. Albalelli desperately trying to look over his teammate and do some damage to keep them alive and land some nice scout shots himself back off that player. And Albalelli's kind of got the world at his oyster at the moment as How's now going to push out and get down onto Vayne now from Noble. Now they're going to retreat swiftly back into that truck, and it's a smart play there. Don't overcommit to those fights because, as I say, there's always that third party just waiting to push in and take advantage, and that third party could potentially be Rogue here.
Absolutely, and that's you saw it. As soon as they got down, Rogue immediately moved to do some damage as they're cleaning up one of TSM and one of Noble, and it looks like they're all down actually. There it is.
Rogue now pushing in, and a perfectly timed push there from Rogue means they will win your game number 1 here on online tournament number 6. And my favorite thing about that is we had the TSM Rogue rivalry kind of rebrewing itself, but also your pick, your dark horse there. Noble doing a great job towards the end of that game, coming in 3rd.
Yeah, like I'm saying, they're big dark horses, but big congrats to Rogue. They were in a really awkward spot there, being on that high ground or low ground, under the pipe. But really smart of them to kind of move up the left side, climb up the wall, and just patiently wait. I mean, the way that circle was, they read it. They saw that TSM was above on that little hill, on that perch, and they saw that Noble was right next to them. They knew that the circle would eventually force them to have to fight each other. and they put themselves furthest away from the fight to make sure that they are indeed the bread of the sandwich, and they take home the win.
Yeah, it was a super impressive push from them towards the end, and it was almost clinical in the way that they finished it off. Usually we see a little bit of a scrap in those end circles, but with 3 teams remaining, the moment that they chose to push, it was absolutely perfect. And sometimes we see, a little bit of lost communication, extra shots being laid into different players. But you have to say that was about as clean as a win as you can have in competitive Apex Legends, just a straight wipe, and it looks simple for them.
Yeah, and that's just being positionally smart in the circle. That's understanding where the teams are, and that's understanding how to put yourself in the right position to make sure you aren't that team that's fighting. You are the team that guarantees that you get to go, or that you get to do the third party. And you saw one of I believe it was Reps that got a knock on Noble, and it was at that very instant, as soon as it got knocked, that I believe Sweet Dreams jumped up, peeked over the little head glitch angle with his Havoc, and I think he beamed the heck out of could have been Alberlelli or Hal, I don't know exactly, but I think he hit him for like 90% of his health. And when that happens, you have the advantage. The other team, Noble, knows that he probably just got beamed. They're watching as well. They're looking for opportunities. Basically, Rogue set up Noble to come in and kind of have like a messy fight, and then they just come in and clean up. It was done very well. Hats off to Rogue.
The patience was incredibly impressive from them as they made that push towards the end. Good to see TSM back in the finals as well, and making a fantastic performance in that game number 1 as well. They'll always want to take home that first place, of course, and they'll be disappointed with that. But I think even with a team of the success that TSM have had, getting back into that final and just having a solid first game really can just kind of reaffirm the confidence, that we deserve to be here. And I know it sounds crazy to say with the success that they have had, but when you do have a tournament where you fall on the back burner a little bit, sometimes you do just need a game like that in a final to just remind yourself how good you can be.
Absolutely. And if you look at TSM's tournament performances, both on the one LAN and in these OTs as well, they typically tend to be a later half of the tournament team. Their first games don't always tend to go that well. They had a pretty solid first game, but don't be surprised to see them turn up in the last half.
Okay, well, that is going to do it for game number 1. Pleasure to cast alongside you, Hodsick, but for now, we're going to throw it back to the desk to break it all down.
Thank you so much, Onset and Hodsick. Fantastic cast. Rain Day here back with Jayla, and a fantastic performance by Rogue, who come out on top in this one, Jayla. I mean, ultimately, we saw 3 great teams there. Noble kind of getting involved with TSM and Rogue, but it ended up being just the third party that decided it all. I mean, that's pretty standard for some Apex Legends competitive play. Even in your normal games, we understand how strong third parties can be. What was your takeaway after watching how that final circle ended up going?
At first I thought that TSM might have had it because they had the high ground. They were like Alberelli was up there taking shots at people. He did a lot of damage with the scout. But it was pretty interesting to see Rogue playing on the side, waiting for TSM and Noble to get into that fight, waiting for all the damage to be done, and then just taking the win after it.
And I think that patience is what something, we've seen in so many top tier teams be a thing that you look at the aim, you look at the weapons, you look at the meta and the composition, but sometimes it's not even about anything you pick. It's about what you don't do instead of do in certain moments, and just kind of biding their time, especially playing around a Caustic was huge. We actually had that final moment ready to walk you through. And I think just an overall discussion around how this played out, you could see that the Caustic, unfortunately, this squad Noble under pressure before really Rogue had to commit.
You can definitely see it was interesting. It was interesting to see Reps. It looks like they were trying to get the kills before they were pushed and finished, because I think they expected the third party there. But it's interesting seeing him push through the Watson fence to try and finish that up as quick as they could to get as many points as they could.
I mean, there's so much to break down in this type of environment. And before we go into a little bit of a bigger breakdown, I do want to just say that this has been only game 1 of game 5. We've seen Rogue take the top spot in that one, but TSM, like we'd mentioned in the cast, also coming through after not qualifying for OT5. Now here, top 3 strong performances. Caustic still clearly in the meta as well. And I actually believe that in order to break this down a little bit more, we're going to bring in the big guns. He's not even casting right now. He is ready to give you guys a breakdown of this final OT6 in game number 1. So let's send it over to Jamerson. What do you got for us on the Telestrator, buddy?
Thank you so much, Rain Day. And yeah, We didn't get to see much of them during this game because they were the silent killers, which is basically what happens with Caustic, right? The gas does a lot of the work. And what I really want to talk about is how they controlled this late game. And as we can see here, we have Noble White set up on the eastern edge of the map. We saw a lot of action there. We just didn't get to see Noble themselves. So I really want to pinpoint this particular play of theirs right now. As you can already take a look, if you take a look at the top left corner at the minimap section, you can see all of the icons coming out for the caustic gas barrels that are currently set up for Noble's Onmu. And he set this up a long time ago, which is important when you're playing the Caustic. As you can tell right now, the indicators also for basically his abilities down here. He's got 3 barrels still ready to go. So anyone who does play Caustic, it's very important for you to be able to set up a lot of these barrels so that you have them recharged and ready for the next fight. So they do their due diligence and make sure that they are ready for this fight, which is going to have a lot of teams coming in from the eastern edge. As we play through the clip here, we'll notice that he's going to set up one more barrel here just at the edge of this ledge, just in case anyone comes in. But I love this play that they use. They're going to be able to control a lot of ground, and they even do small things moving through this clip here. As Blitzen is handed off an ultimate excel, they're going to set up an interception pylon, just getting ready for the wave, basically playing tower defense here on the high ground on the eastern edge. This is how they got themselves into the top 3, making sure that they are able to control their backside as the circle is forcing every other team into them right now. Blitzen from Noble doing a great job of just shutting down that Pathfinder. NRG really struggling to get on through this here, as we also have in the Kilpie TSM doing the same thing on the western edge. So a lot of excellent zone control coming out from Noble here to really make it into the top. Now, as we move on, we don't have the clip for it from their POV in that last fight, but there were a lot of smart things that they did that we weren't really able to talk about leading into this. And I just really did want to make sure that we highlighted other teams throughout all of this, because in that last fight, there were small things like making sure that they destroyed their own Watson interception pylon, because they knew that sometimes, the interception pylon can be a little bit iffy. They want to make sure that when they throw in the caustic gas, the Nox gas grenade, that it wouldn't get eaten by their own Watson generator. So this Noble squad, you might not have heard of them. They might not be making the biggest waves, but they have been improving from week to week, and I'm glad to see that they were here in the finals, and I want to see more of them through games 2, 3, 4, and 5. But that's going to do it for me. I got to get ready for game number 2, so I'm going to go ahead and toss it right on back to you guys. Rainday, Jayla, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Jamerson. That was awesome, man, to see you go through that as well. And Jayla, I mean, we look at the way these final circles have kind of started off. A lot of teams rotate to where they think it's going to end right away. But Noble, they decided to play more of the riskier strategy. With the Caustic Watson, though, they were able to kind of ride the zone, and it paid off for them big time. I think third place, so many big names in this lobby, we weren't necessarily expecting them to be the team that took that position.
Honestly, it was interesting. It was pretty impressive to see them get the Caustic 2 end game. I was hoping to see like a Caustic ult, like more traps, like more action in the Caustic gas, but unfortunately they got taken out before they had the opportunity. But it's cool to see they got the Watson and the Caustic both to the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of like, Caustic only means you can't defend as well. Watson only means you're not as offensive with your pressure. And I think that the blend of both of those is something that we're seeing Noble have some success with early on. So we'll see if that composition continues to be effective. But I know that we do have our standings here coming up for game number 1 here in OT6. And we all know Rogue got first place, but it is Team Solo Mid, TSM, right behind them, actually eclipsing them with kills with 19 points in total. Noble White, they'll grab 14. Free Smoke, they'll take 13. And number 5, we'll go to Sola Fide, filling it out. Lil Poggies, Complexity, Tricky, Sentinels, and Silver Fox. J-Lo, what are your impressions looking at this list of results?
I'm actually pretty impressed that Free Smoke made it to 4th place on the list. They got a good amount of kills, good amount of points. Somebody that I don't really know too much about, so I'm actually interested to see how they perform in the rest of the games.
We looked at aim assist and gentrifying, and we saw them kind of having that harsh rotation where they got caught up in a fight. I believe it was between Complexity, and I believe it was with No Coco and his squad as well. Not able to really make it back into the zone. You still have the same hopes for them as you had starting out the show, or are you kind of questioning that decision? Do you think this lobby is
maybe it's just like the first game jitters, maybe, I haven't really, I don't know, like, I'm still hoping that they really, make people put that respect on controller. So there's still more games to come.
And of course, we have some great things coming up for you as well, including some tweets that have been delivered to us. Remember to use that hashtag ALGS. It's Rogue saying, "Immaculate first dub, Bossman. Rogue Apex take the first game in the ALGS Online Tournament 6. Hashtag Go Rogue." I love it. Rogue representing as well. And I think when you add Sweet and Dropped, you add Snipe down to a roster like that, these guys clearly are performing to the best of their abilities so consistently that they are a top threat here in North America. Jayla, before and as we kind of take a look at some of the highlights that have happened throughout this game and kind of just retrace game one, getting ready for game two, overall impressions on just the way the meta has shown up in North America. Have you seen anything different than Europe and NA, or is it kind of what you expected today?
Honestly, I think it's kind of the same. I believe in Europe they had 2 caustics this time around, and in NA we have 2 caustics as well. I think that I've seen the NA get the caustics a little bit closer to end game, which has been nice to see a little more action and the caustics not going down so early. So I'm excited to see if somebody can actually win a game with the caustic. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, Europe has proven it. Now North America really adopting it. We'll see if it continues here in OT6. Of course, if you guys want to know what this is all leading up to in the summer, we've got some big things going for Apex Legends. And you can follow all of the updates at Play Apex on YouTube, at Twitter, and of course at Twitch. For the Super Regional coming up as well, make sure to stay tuned for that heading into the summer. And if you want to get your tweets out, whether it's about the Super Regionals coming up, or if you want to get your tweets out, whether it's about the Super Regionals coming up, whether it's about today's broadcast, and you want to be featured on our broadcast, remember to use hashtag ALGX. All right, guys, that's going to be looking like it is ready for game number 2. We've had a great one. Rogue takes game 1, but it's time to head over to your casters, Bravo and Fallout, to get us going for the second match.
Rain Day, Jayla, thank you so much. We're going to jump right into gameplay here. Fallout joined alongside Bravo for the very first time, by the way, Bravo. It's an honor to be casting alongside yourself. Looking forward to this one.
Hey, great to be casting with you as well. Excited. We get some early action here at Trials once again. We've been treated to much more Trials in this online tournament than we were in the prior tournament. And with that, of course, is going to come some great loot as well. But excited to be joining you here for game number 2, Fallout. And it looks like we are headed southwest, and a pretty common end circle that we saw also a lot in Europe earlier today as well.
That's exactly right. Southwest circle coming through. We saw SKP2 in Europe going down, fighting the Prowlers and Trials, and now we're going to see the same thing with Team Age Gap, who are looking to get some guaranteed loot, taking on these Trials one by one, and there you have it. That's why you do it. You get some solid loot off the rip here for Pride. You like to see it, and you like to see the early Trials play coming in, both in the European region and the North American region. We'll be looking forward to this Southwest Circle, as mentioned, or Ring, as we're currently on board with Liquid. They're going to get Trainyard uncontested, as we're typically used to seeing. And it looks like, did they split? Yes, they did. They did split with Casper, dropping him out of that campsite outside Fragment. He's going to be rotating over to his team as well.
Yeah, we've seen Liquid definitely gets pretty comfortable here. We've seen them all the way through Mine Pass. They get into a whole different parts of the map and really holding down Train for that initial looting. But of course, they're going to be one of many teams that has to head south. Their route isn't going to be too long from Train. They're going to have a few different choke options, but the longer they wait, they know that they're going to be harder to get into Thermal. So they definitely want to take a route as fast as they can, either to the west of Thermal Raid, to the east, ideally avoiding that Mirage Voyage choke, of course, as well.
Yeah, it's a good call out. Team Liquid, one of our 4 teams that have won in North America alongside Rogue, Skirt, and of course TSM. Team Liquid looking to get another one to try and get closer to TSM and TSM's overall championship tally, which is pretty remarkable. 6 tournaments won for TSM. Since then, Team Liquid, Rogue, and Skirt have won tournaments of their own in these online tournaments, kind of cementing themselves as a top squad. But it was really all Rogue in game number 1. And I want to talk a little bit about this Rogue squad as things are slowing down a bit here, Bravo. You know Snipedown incredibly well as a player. You've been casting him for so many years. His addition to this squad, talk to me a bit about what that's done for this Rogue squad here recently.
Absolutely. By the way, Little Poggies finding themselves with early aggression there, as they're going to have to be careful. And we didn't exactly see how that wipe came in, though, but they are now going to be challenged with getting promo back into the game. But yeah, I love what I'm seeing from Snipedown on this Rogue roster. Of course, known him a long time as a pro player and a good friend. But one thing I'm curious about Rogue, let's keep in mind, first place as their first tournament together, but I believe 9th in OT5, so not certainly the placing that they were looking for there. This is really going to be the consistency question for that side of Rogue.
Yeah, so great addition for Snipedown to that squad. Another team that we obviously look out for is Complexity. We all know Monsoon and his story He was actually quite literally homeless before Apex Legends and has made himself a full-blown career. An amazing story from this individual, and so much love and respect for Monsoon in terms of what he's been able to do with Apex Legends, changing his life. I'm excited to see what Monsoon and Complexity can do, because they're in that upper echelon of teams that has not necessarily won a tournament yet. I call it the Complexity curse, Odds calls it, where they start off really, really strong but aren't able to finish. BCJ is going to be able to get out of dodge right there and dodge a nade. And of course, Shiny, Muffins, former Fnatic NA, joined alongside BCJ, former teammate of Snipe Down, and alongside Android Dream. They made some noise in online tournaments 2 and 3. BCJ, we know what he can do as a multi-genre king, honestly, in all FPSs. Huge impact to this former Fnatic squad since he joined it.
Yeah, but BCJ going to throw down the best fences that he can in that scenario. They're going to take a moment. Really curious to see what we're going to see from the Shiny Muffins BCJ side, because keep in mind, coming into this game, now game 2 with 0 points, they did get 4th this past week at the Esports Arena weekly. So pretty good performance from them there, and they definitely had some competition along the way. They also got 8th last tournament in online tournament 5. So looking to see big things from them as the McCarthy brothers and BCJ have squatted up here, but also now taking a look at TSM. They get some early low real estate, and they decided to take the bottom here of Triangle at Tree.
Yeah, interesting. So TSM with the early rotation again. We all know TSM drops Fragment, and they like to play Path, even through the Pathfinder nerf that came through. It's been a storyline, right? We still see a lot of Pathfinder being used, which just goes to show the importance of Pathfinder is really his passive, his beacon for early rotations. TSM does it so incredibly well. We saw Nasky, Strafe, and Del kind of take a page out of TSM's playbook with very early rotations in the first European final, and they got a victory doing that exact kind of same meta, same strategy. It works out for TSM. It's worked out for Nasky, Strafe, and Del. We'll see if it can happen here for TSM as they got an early rotation over to Tree. Meanwhile, on board of Team Liquid, they're going to be in a bit of a fight, a bit of a quarrel here against Roof Koreans in a 3 versus 3. Let's see if the fight's going to break down, as it looks like Roof Koreans wants to push it with some caustic love.
You're in their sights.
Absolutely. Roof Koreans took the train straight in. Liquid certainly saw them there, but Roof Koreans are relatively unscathed as they're able to push in, and they're going to go ahead and grab a little bit of real estate themselves here. But Liquid now also going to be nading, keeping an eye on this fight now. Some good damage coming through, but you have to imagine they want to be careful. They want to get the perfect damage call before they do make that push.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It looks like they're going to opt instead not for the push, but for real estate, as you mentioned. So they're going to grab control of one of the houses here outside Thermal Station. Liquid's going to grab control of the other. Very well set up right now is Team Liquid, and they're going to be content holding on top of this house, trying to get some long-range poke and damage. Meanwhile, Bowser, playing alongside Nicewig on Team Yeet Squad, is going to pick up a kill. I know we got some Nicewig fans in the chat, and so far, so good for Bowser, who's been an incredibly consistent performer ever since the Apex Invitational in Poland, where he actually subbed in for an Australian team. Showed up in a huge way, played very well as an individual and on that team. Since then, he's made some good noise as part of Yeet Squad in the online tournaments. He's now teaming up with Nicewig, one of the most vocal, best individuals, best human beings, best streamers and pro players that we have in Apex in terms of his community leadership. I'm excited to see what they can do. Currently on board with Bowser, Six, and Nicewig. Of course, Six coming from that Pittsburgh Night Squad, former teammate of Hodsik, one of our analysts.
Yeah, 3 players we've undoubtedly not just been keeping an eye on, but have certainly been on our radar throughout the entirety, like you said, since really the beginning of competitive Apex last summer, and now going to be looking for a big performance in game number 2 as well. Just in case you're just joining us, it was an explosive game 1. Rogue with 21 points there in first, TSM in second with 19, and after that it's Noble White, Free Smoke, and Solo Fide a little bit behind. Rogue and TSM has already started to pull away. We'll have to see if they can keep that up, but also getting a first look at NRG, who is also at Tree, and they have their eyes on TSM right now.
Yeah, great recap, Rob. It was really the big 2, Rogue and TSM. If you're a fan of those 2 squads, I'm sure you loved game 1, as we couldn't have written a better story, honestly, as Rogue and TSM start incredibly strong. NRG, of course, another team that is well-known, well-loved, a lot of fans for NRG, Frex, Rocker, and Nathan, currently sitting with some nice real estate over towards Dome, and they are putting some shots, over towards Tree, and they're putting some good shots on TSM, who opted for that low ground setup. And Bravo, TSM likes that low ground setup. Sometimes you see a lot of teams just pick the nearest building and control building real estate for pure cover. TSM sometimes opts for that low ground instead. And in your eyes, is there any reason as to why they choose for that kind of a little more open, slightly low ground setup?
I think it's really just what Watson has done and did to the meta when she arrived on the scene, right? It really changes the equation. It changes the game. It gets rid of the rule that height is always king, or in Watson's case, queen. It allows you to play low ground when you have when you have those fences. It completely allows you to control areas that would characteristically in any FPS or BR not be on paper the premium real estate in any given area. So TSM is certainly taking advantage of that, and we've seen that at many different parts of the map. It happens all the time at Overlook. It happens all the time. Yep. As well, even at Train. teams just setting up refinery. We're seeing it here, unsurprisingly, as well at Tree.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a perfect breakdown. And Watson, of course, changed the game quite literally when she came into the scene in season 2, and since then has been a mainstay as part of competitive Apex. We typically see a lot of Watson, a lot of Wraith, and of course that third legend has been a little bit of a variable lately. We're seeing some Caustic being thrown into that meta. I know we got some Revenant love in the chat. Let us know in the chat who you'd like to see played that we don't necessarily see played often in competitive Apex. That's obviously for a reason. A lot of these players want the best possible team comp, and I know we got a lot of Revenant love. I know we were looking forward to maybe seeing some Loba, who's obviously been fun to watch, and a great announcement made recently by Apex in terms of overall player retainment since Season 5 started. A lot of people have loved this new meta in public matches with Loba. We haven't seen a whole lot of Loba just yet. Love to hear from you guys in the chat as to who you'd like to see added to that third kind of variable spot. But meanwhile, on board again with Little Poggies, who are actually going to be able to revive their third teammate. I think it was Dino that was down, so a nice recovery comes through from Little Poggies, a team that we have enjoyed watching quite the time.
Definitely, it was the promo who they're able to get back in the game. They could be killed here because they're from a bunch. And the other ones that instigated this, it's Complexity, I believe, and that ult did not hit the way they wanted to. It's not going to be Promo who's going to try to peek and do whatever he can, but he is going to get knocked on the grapple as well. So now, Zenial, we'll see what he is going to be able to do. He's going to have to pop a bat. And Little Poggies instigating there on Thermal Ridge, one of the hardest places to attack. You see it time and time again. And whenever you try to flank, whether you're coming from the west or the east, so hard to hold this. Complexity will unsurprisingly not only maintain hold here of the Thermal Ridge, but they will continue to face south and also put damage on who is likely still Team Liquid at the station.
Yep, and that's one team you don't want to necessarily instigate with if you're Little Poggies is Complexity. One of the best pound-for-pound 3-versus-3 fight teams in competitive Apex in North America, honestly in the world in my eyes. Currently on board of Nicewig of CLG, playing with Deep Squad, Six, and Bowser. This is a top squad. If you maybe are relatively new to competitive Apex, maybe haven't seen a lot of Bowser and Six, they are top players, been playing in almost every tournament, every competition, from Krakow at the preseason invitational in Poland to online tournaments since. This is a very good roster that Nicewig finds himself leading and on. I'm excited to see what Nicewig can do. Currently playing as Gibraltar, couldn't play as Watson as we know he does, and currently switching over to quite the rat situation here for Sama, who's just going to be content in a perfect little angle here, surviving in circle as well, trying to rat his way to a top finish if he can. 19 squads still remain in this one, Robbo.
Absolutely, and as you can see, teams that are still at Thermal, they are going to need to make that trek all the way over to Tree, and as we also know, that southern choke between Thermal and Tree gets harder and harder as the game goes on. Here's another example, Complexity, a team that's taking their time a little bit on that rotation. They know that it's coming up. They've got, as you can see, over 2 minutes on the clock to time that out, but they're going to be one of your many teams that has to come through that choke, excuse me.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough situation for them. Obviously, a lot of choke points in World's Edge. And, World's Edge has honestly turned out to be one of a great competitive experience, and I've really, really enjoyed over the last 4 or 5 online tournaments watching World's Edge in competitive Apex. Of course, now we got 2 maps, Kings Canyon and World's Edge. Currently watching World's Edge gameplay here with Lou, Monsoon, and Reptar of Team Complexity, one of the most aggressive teams in Apex. And, honestly, when you have a lot of mechanical skill that they do and great team firing synergy, you don't blame them for playing as aggressive as they do. Meanwhile, it looks like another revive was able to come through for Promo and Force. So Zenial's able to do it again. Promo has his 3rd life in this one, and Little Poggies continues to fight back, giving himself another dream here in game number 2.
Absolutely. Now, as you see, a late Thermal move there is going to be coming in from the Little Poggy side, and what I like about that is Zenial's able to get, like you said, the whole team back in the action. If they were not afraid to take that fight, they pushed it to the edge. Complexity forced them all the way back, but somehow they're able to squeak out the res. Now, speaking of that side, though, here's Complexity once again getting a little bit of height, and also Monsoon getting some great damage. He's got help here from Reptar up on that height as well.
Yeah, finding themselves in yet another fight. It's like Complexity just takes fight after fight after fight with such success. Here comes the aggression from Monsoon, one of the best wraiths in competitive Apex, as he's going to get some good shots in off the rip, leveraging that gold Ava 8 and Wingman. Monsoon's going to put absolute bricks in, 76 with the Wingman, going to connect for someone down as well, and that's going to be another team wipe coming through for Complexity. They continue to do it, and they continue to do it with success, keeping their foot on the gas and taking out team after team after team.
Absolutely, and this is what we want to see from Complexity. Also, keep in mind, Paul, you and I were talking about it. Complexity finished 11th in that last game, but due to KP, actually, they ended up in 8th. So already making sure that they stay in that top 10. And really, as we know, I'm going to interrupt myself because we do have a little bit of a battle here happening just out of the west of Sorting, a little bit of a late rotation.
Yep, nice kill picked up on Prodigy Aces and Blackout by Denial. So Lil Poggies, they continue to do it. And they were honestly playing with scraps. You saw them looting. I think we saw a Spitfire and an R301 for Force. He's finally able to loot up now. Those are big kills because not only does that mean they get some KP, some kill points, but they're also going to get some much needed loot going into this late game. So Lil Poggies is undoubtedly right back in this one as they are well looted after getting the death boxes of their opponents. And now in a good position to try and secure a top finish. The question is, they're in circle. Can they do it on their third life here as a team?
And that is the question. They have been absolutely resilient. You got to think it got to be exhausting, Fallout, to be playing that way and just constantly fighting for your life. But somehow they've done it. Now only 3 squads have been eliminated in our game number 2 so far, and you have to say so far TSM has had that right pick, but we do have that next circle indicating that TSM is just going to have a little bit of edge at bottom triangle as things continue to move even further east. There's going to be a lot of open ground, not only that, but a lot of interior play as well. Monsoon not done with the wing, still so much damage coming in.
Yeah, you love to see the aggression still coming through for Complexity. Great call out, Bravo, on TSM. They seem to predict so well and so perfectly. Meanwhile, Complexity just to the left of TSM is going to find themselves in a fight here, continuing the aggression, getting some good shots in. They're going to down one. That's Kimchi of the Korean Roof Squad. Roof Korean, sorry, as they're going to find another fight. Good aggression, good shots put in, but Monsoon puts himself in a pretty bad spot here, and that's one thing that he's known, it's going to be criticized on. Ultra aggressive, but sometimes that aggression cost his team. In this situation, Reptar's last alive. You got to think this might be costly here as Monsoon and Lou both get taken out. So it's a high risk, high reward style of play. It's fun to watch. It results in kill points. One thing that Complexity doesn't necessarily do is place consistently in terms of placement, which is obviously also crucial. It's 2 ways to play this game. You can play for kill points, you can play for placement, or if you're a TSM or a rogue, you can try and play for both. But in this scenario, Complexity with aggression is going to cost him here.
Absolutely needs to be careful. Speaking of the rogue in first place, they're looking to put more first place wins on the board if they can. Like we said, a disappointing ninth for them, but now Drop needs to be careful. He has lost Snipe down, as you can see in the feed, so it's going to be a bat here for Drop, which is going to count a lot. He does have that red Evo as well.
Yeah, Appa putting in absolute work. Of course, the Roof Koreans are playing with a brilliant caustic play that we've seen as they've gotten some kills here on Snipe Down, getting a kill on Dropped. It's Appa that has been absolutely popping off. And in honor of the Roof Koreans and due to some audio issues we have here, Bravo's going to be signing off for the day. Bravo, a big thank you for a great cast all day long. Jamerson's going to be joining me on the broadcast here to hopefully translate some Korean for us, Jamerson. I know Appa and it means dad in Korean, I think you were telling us earlier.
Not the only Korean you're going to be calling dad on broadcast here. You got another one. Me coming in, but yeah, I mean, honestly, their composition has been interesting to watch, to say the least, but the fight over this hill has been absolutely nuts. A lot of teams thinking they have it for free, but now it's TSM in a little bit of trouble as Reps has to back off.
Yep, TSM, Jamerson, we were chatting about earlier, they like to position themselves in low ground. They were perfectly bottom triangle in tree, had to rotate from there to get a better center circle spot. Now they're going to be finding themselves low ground over towards the buildings here as well. Meanwhile, Lil Poggy's on their third life as a team here. Promo's going to be tagged up quite a bit. They're going to find themselves a few more kills. It's going to be Noct that gets taken up by the Ream. No Coco. Their team, no Coco Puffs. Alongside Noct and Zach Mazer are going to get taken out by the likes of Lil Poggy's. Meanwhile, on board with Team Liquid as they're finding themselves a fight. I believe, is this TSM here over on the far side of the map?
The NRG, there's so much going on right now. HRN even getting in on this as Arcane is able to take out Nathan.
That's exactly right. Currently on board with Frex of NRG. Rocker, who got himself an Evo shield really early in this game. He's going to play with a little bit of a push here. Drops himself a portal for his teammate to get a revive. Beautiful team portal to secure himself a team revive. Take notes if you're a aspiring competitive player in Apex. That's how you want to play Wraith. Support your teammates in certain scenarios as all of NRG back up and alive here, getting some good shots in cross now.
And they've got the slow side of the circle to work with along with this high ground. So this is their opportunity to really come up with a lot of kill points here. They've got the ultimate high ground. Every other team is going to be fighting on the low. There should be very few people shooting at them. So it should just be fire at will for the NRG squad.
Yeah, it's the firing range at this point here. It's looking like a good situation for NRG, looking for some cannon fodder cross map. Meanwhile, Saucer, former member of the Flying Saucer squad, I believe with Nathan and co, who are now on NRG, currently waiting to revive his teammate. Maybe he doesn't want to make too much noise. Maybe he's just trying to kind of wait for an ideal situation here, Jamerson.
You definitely do want to wait out just a little bit, especially as the ring is going to close there. So that maybe that little bit of sound can obscure it for them to try and get the res at this point. but that patience, they might be waiting a little bit too long as we're down to 9 squads. 25 players remaining here, but NRG once again with such a dominant position. We can see even on the southeastern edge here, Will Foggy have to take the fight. They're going to try and get the KP, but they've taken so much damage.
Yeah, and a lot of damage in the big fight. Of course, worth noting, Team Liquid got taken out as well. Meanwhile, back on with force here of Little Poggy's doing everything he can, but he's finally going to get taken out. That's going to be it for Little Poggy's run. A valiant effort considering where they were a little bit earlier in this round. Meanwhile, you said it, Jamerson, NRG in a perfect situation right now. It is an absolute firing range. It's like shooting fish in a barrel right now for NRG as they are just raining down a parade on their opponents.
Now it's down to 3 squads here. We got NRG, we got the McCarthy brothers on BCJ along with Solafide. Those are our final two, but the trades are coming out. Solafide answering 1 for 1.
And that Rocker's going to add damage or add fuel to fire, if you will, cross map here. You got to think this is an NRG game. They're just too well positioned. Jamerson, you called it from the onset of where they where the ring was going to be rotating to, where they're positioned, and now at this point, it's the waiting game is clarify of Solafide. He's going to try to get his teammate back if he can. However, all 3 squads still remain. The McCarthy brothers are able to loop back up. Former Fnatic NA, Muffins and Shiny McCarthy, the twins from Washington area, putting some great shot and just being a force to be reckoned with Solafide. That's going to be it for them. We are now down to a 3 versus 3, and guess what? They're going to be able to heal back up. I don't think NRG realized that they had an opportune moment to push. Instead, they're going to allow the McCarthy brothers to re-heal. We got ourselves a 3v3, Jamerson.
Yeah, they didn't want to give up this position, as of course Muffins and Shiny, they have to push up this hill now. They can try and get a nice angle. We saw that Nathan was posturing for that, playing on the branch to the left there. Try to set up some sort of crossfire to try and pressure them just a little bit more now. But now it's going to be the ring that's going to be the ultimate vice grip on them.
That's exactly right. And you saw they wanted to push that. It was a member of NRG getting ready to push, but they recognized we're in such a good position here. However, this is a very tough situation on the flip side for the McCarthy brothers. All odds against them. I think that's the right decision for NRG. You have high ground. You have the ring rotating to you. There's no reason to give up your clear advantage in this game. This is a giant mountain to climb if you're the McCarthy brothers. But guess what? They got themselves a Gibraltar bubble. That's going to buy them some time to heal up on this rotation. But look at this position from NRG. They are perfectly primed to just rain fire, rain grenades, rain everything from on top. You got to think, unless NRG makes a monumental mistake here, this has to be an NRG game. But let's see what the McCarthy brothers can do.
They did miss their opportunity to try and push now. Let's take a look at the damage that's coming across. Once that bubble went down, they understand that a lot of damage went across. BCJ, though, sitting at less than 100 HP, as we're seeing Muffins and Shiny trying to hold the line for him to heal up for this last fight.
They're honestly just trying to find any instant they can. Here comes the push. NRG looking for blood. They're going to drop at the same exact time. They're going to play that so incredibly well. All 3 members of NRG taking out all 3 members of the former Fnatic NA squad. An execution to finish that one out. And just like that, NRG is your victors of game number 1. What a showing. Position is key, as they showed right there. Real estate is everything. NRG comes out with the win, Jamerson.
Yeah, NRG just... We're very fortunate, I would say, of course, getting that ring pull consistently onto their high ground, but they played that position really well. I like the patience that they had, even though I did say maybe they should have pushed that Gibraltar bubble a little bit faster. Again, they were working at their own pace because they controlled the absolute tempo of that fight. They had all the control there. They were able to decide when exactly they felt comfortable to drop down. They chipped a little bit more away at damage, and then they were able to finish it off with that EVA 8, really being able to solidify that win.
Yeah, and the key of what you said there is exactly that. Chip away at damage. No reason to drop unnecessarily or early when you don't really have that advantage. Instead, you want to ooze out that advantage by chipping away bit by bit by bit, dropping at the opportune moment or the perfect moment or situation. NRG is going to finish with a first place finish. And guess what? They also picked themselves up 11 kills. That's a massive game number 1. We had TSM and Rogue in game number 2. We had TSM and Rogue in game 1. Well, we have NRG in game number 2 with TSM placing 5th. That might give us a Rogue TSM NRG top 3, depending on how things shake up here. Undoubtedly a crazy finish to game number 2, just like we saw with game number 1. Things are certainly heating up. And to break down the action, I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to our desk with Ninjala and Rain Day.
Thank you so much, Fallout, Rain Day, and Jayla here representing the analyst desk for today in North America. More goodness out of OT6. We got game 2 going to, of all teams, NRG. Now, that's not like, a diss. NRG, great org. They've been in Apex forever. But what we've seen, Jayla, and I'm sure you followed this along with so many roster changes from Dizzy and Ace being on the team to Ace leaving to adding Frex to more being on the squad. Now he's gone. A kind of a new face of this NRG and popping off really nicely to go ahead and finish OT2 Game 2 in style. Excuse me, OT6 Game 2 in style.
For sure. It was nice seeing NRG win this game. They had prime positioning on the high ground. Honestly, they had good positioning the entire time. Like it seemed like they were just waiting for everybody to come to them. So it was interesting to see the other teams try to like rotate in and seeing how they just were shooting down on their heads. And I think we all knew like after a certain point that NRG had that in the bag.
Yeah, the high ground, the meds, the patience, the fact that they didn't have to get involved in that, 2v, in that 1v1 before they fought into the final fight was all beneficial for NRG, who we think lands at tree. So they might have had a really easy route to kind of holding down that zone in game, which is different than what we highlighted, Jayla, with the Caustic squad, Noble moving with the zone in, just in case you're jumping in Apex saying, wow, so many different ways to win this game. Absolutely. NRG wasn't on our list, though, but let's react to that final moment, Jayla. I mean, walk me through kind of what your thoughts are now looking at NRG in a bigger conversation. Do they put themselves in the category of, hey, being the one of the contenders to win this thing?
Honestly, I've always felt like they have always been up there. This definitely, them getting this win definitely like solidifies that thought. I like that they kept the high ground until like they knew the perfect moment to jump down and push, and when they pushed, they honestly did not take much damage and wipe the last team out so quickly. It was just cool to like to see the team on the bottom was playing around like I guess those would be the roots of the trees pretty well. But unfortunately, as soon as NRG dropped, like their death was like instantaneous.
Yeah, I mean, when you have high ground, sometimes, like I said, when you drop it, you're in danger. Teams are waiting for you. But at that point, they were catching, the McCarthy brothers, as we've been calling it, BCJ as well. I love that. Sounds like some mafia somewhere. It's great. The McCarthy brothers. Don't mess with the McCarthy brothers. They're actually really showing up really nicely here as well. So many teams in North America now. But I guess the narrative is starting to really fracture into something more consistent with EU, where any team that we're looking at here has a chance to go ahead and pop off. And I mean, just to stay with NRG, because I think their moment has been coming for a while. This is a team that ultimately, this squad, this organization, with how much presence they've had in Apex, Jayla, from content creation to streaming and obviously a competitive team all throughout the way, we've always expected kind of big things in performances. And I think NRG fans have felt a little... I don't know, wind taken out of their sails when they didn't exceed those expectations. But now this could be a really awesome moment, especially with them now heading into super regionals on some momentum.
Yeah, there were a lot of changes to the NRG roster. Unfortunately, we lost Asu and Dizzy, but they were replaced with great people who I feel like they're going to try to make a name for NRG again. And I think this is a good way to do it, bringing home a win in the second game. Maybe we'll see more wins from them. Who knows?
I love it. I love it. The return of NRG Game 2 starting to spin some storylines here that I really, really love. Shout out to all those players as well. And let's see Game 2 results as we get into it. It's the McCarthy brothers taking second, but NRG going ahead and taking first. Can't forget BCJ with those McCarthy brothers, iShiny and Muffins, tallying 16 points in the game, 7 points for kills. Solafide come in third. Very consistent performances over the course of this lobby with them. And so here's your overall standings after 2 games. It is going to be NRG at the top with that big win. TSM 1 point behind, Rogue at 22 points. Notably, though, I got to say, Jayla, Team Liquid, I mean, winners of our OT3, nowhere in sight right now, in 15th place with only 3 points. I mean, I know you've competed a lot in Apex. You play this game all the time. What do you do from here when you're looking at trying to get back involved and things aren't going your way? How do you reset? How do you get yourself back focused in that type of scenario?
It's so difficult because I'm definitely nowhere near this level of gameplay. But if I were them, I would probably try to play it a little bit more safe. I know that Casper likes to land and hit beacon and find where zone is. But I know that another team might be contesting where they usually land. So maybe they're making some changes that they weren't necessarily looking to make in this tournament. I'm hoping to see them at least in the top 10, but I guess we'll just have to see how the next few games play out. Maybe they'll start playing a little bit more safe.
Yeah, it's kind of a swing game right here. Game 3 coming up, and it's going to be an exciting one to watch. I want to get a little into meta, too, because one of my favorite conversations to have, we talk about the storylines and the pros. I love that. But there's a new season. Season 5 has brought so many different changes, and, we've seen the Mastiff go out of the care package into the hands of players all over the place. But what I noticed was a ton of EVA 8s. This is something Hodzik and I had talked about a little bit in the last OTs when we were on the desk here. How do you feel about the shotgun meta right now? Is EVA 8 over the Mastiff for you, or what do you think about these players kind of selecting that more quick-fire, rapid approach shotgun?
Honestly, at the beginning of season 5, I was like, the Mastiff's kind of nice. Like, let me play with it a little bit. But like I feel like I don't do like consistent damage with the Mastiff. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. But I've actually the EVA's kind of grown on me. I've been picking it up more so than picking up the Mastiff lately. Been doing more consistent damage with it. So maybe that's what these teams are feeling too. Maybe they're feeling like the Mastiff isn't as consistent, isn't as great as the EVA, so they're picking up the EVA.
And I think another, that's a good point as well. But I think another conversation as we look at the highlights of this game is noticing how these teams have succeeded while still sticking to traditional metas despite some of these changes. It's not like we've seen Pathfinder go out the window. Pathfinder's been winning these games. He just won again and was crucial to maintaining that high ground. How do you see Pathfinder with that 35 seconds down to the grapple still fitting into this meta?
Honestly, I'm just glad to see people are still playing Pathfinder. He's a super fun legend to play. It is unfortunate that he takes that nerf, and you can't use his grapple as much. But I still think the teams are doing a great job of playing him in these tournaments. And I don't see. I mean, most of the teams making it to the end are Pathfinder teams. So, maybe it didn't hurt him as much as we thought it did.
I think it's just a re-education, not an education, but I think it's just it's a different adjustment as to how to play him. But those are my thoughts. We're going to see, obviously, and you're going to see if Pathfinder keeps winning, Pathfinder's going to keep on getting played here. Great push at the end of it to secure things for NRG as we get close to game 3. This is the finish of game 2. Rayday and Jayla on this desk waiting for us to get into the next action here, as Season 5 and OT6 are right in front of you. All of you watching as well, remember to stay tuned at Play Apex for all of your socials to keep in touch with whatever Apex is doing, all the cool things they're launching, and even just to take a little second away from competitive right now, Jayla, because we have some time. The stories, the quests in Season 5, this is some next level stuff right here. I'm getting jump scared by prowlers, in the middle of like an abandoned artillery base. I'm like, what's going on? What is going on with these quests? I love them though.
Dude, I love the quest. I literally freak out every time I play when I'm getting chased by the prowlers. It was unfortunate to see Watson die, in the last one. They got her banner. Hopefully she comes back. Hopefully she's okay. I like seeing the dynamic between the legends, Caustic caring for Watson. A lot of things that you don't get to see, like the stories in between the quests have been like really fun to like listen to or like read.
Oh, of course. Yeah, and it's great for the community. It's obviously great for us as content creators, and it's great for these players to get even more in touch with the roles that they're playing. If you're that Watson main now, you might have been going into this tournament with a little bit of like, chip on your shoulder, like, how you going to do my main like that? Let's jump into this tournament and prove them that I deserve to be alive. I deserve to be well. All our best to the Watsons. And of course, if you guys are wanting more Apex, there's a lot more coming up. In the summer, we've got Super Regionals happening. Super Regional number 1 in June 21st. That is coming right up, nearly just about 22 days away. And we're going to have all a mixture of regions, EMEA and the Americas, battling it out 4 times in the summer before we hit our playoffs in September. There's so many exciting things about this as well, Jayla, and I've mentioned it a bunch, but what are you looking forward to most around these Super Regionals?
There's already so many big teams that we already know, TSM, Rogue, NRG. I'm looking forward to like new teams coming and like really giving those guys a run for their money, see if they can really stay on top with the new competition that will be like put on the summer series.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, it's great to see Season 5 come in. This is the first online tournament since Season 5 launched, so we're seeing a lot of different meta adjustments and great new things to keep everyone enlivened. Player retention is at the top, but you know what else is at the top? These teams. They're trying to make sure that they stay at the top, though, especially NRG, who find themselves 1 point ahead of TSM. Will they continue in Game 3? We'll have to find out as we head over to your casters to get the action started.
Yes, indeed, Rainday. We will have to find out how this is going to go and what is going to happen in this game number 3. And 3 is the magic number at the moment, Hodsick, because look at that top 3 that we have after our first 2 games. NRG, TSM, Rogue, huge names in Apex Legends, huge names throughout the world as well. After 2 games, that's a big top 3, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, if you look at the points, only about 3 points separating all 3 of them. And then 4, if you count Noble White as well, at 21. So from 21 to 25, that's your top 4. So it's anyone's game. Even a lot of the teams in the bottom 10, it can still be anyone's game as long as you get a very big kill point and placement finish. So excited to see how the second half of this tournament is going to end.
Yeah, and we find this game number 3 is kind of like Rainday mentioned, the swing game. If you have a consistent game here, you really can put yourself in, position to potentially make a run and win the tournament. And with how tight it is, not even in that top 3, Hodsick, I'm looking down here and it's, there's only a couple of points separating all the teams, right down to 10th place, you would say. The one big game from any of those top 10s, especially if they manage to take out one of those teams in front of them, really could shake up the leaderboards. But one team that is shaking things up, certainly in this online tournament number 6, is a team that we're watching off drop here, and that is going to be Complexity. And we were kind of dazzled by the way that they were approaching some of those fights. And I know you love talking about Monsoon and the way that he plays the game, but to break it down a little bit, you always say to me, he plays Wraith different to how other people play Wraith. Kind of break down exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, so all of the great Wraith players in this game, you think Hal, you think Monsoon, all of the really great Wraith players, what I find very interesting about them is they all have different playstyles. None of them play the character the same way. And one thing that really I don't see anybody doing as well as Monsoon on the Wraith is he finds openings into fights better than almost any player that I've seen. And what I mean by that is finding, basically the way most of these high-level fights go is teams kind of pick at each other until they get like a big crack or multiple big cracks on teams. So, and then that's their cue to push. But Monsoon can typically do that on his own. He takes very aggressive angles. He knows his limits, and his limits seem to be greater than any other Wraith out there. In terms of like his movement's really good. He knows how to get out, and the biggest thing actually probably is his team always has his back. And that's one of the things that you have to rely on as a Wraith. If you want to play super aggressive, you got to trust your team to have your back.
I think it's a great point that you make there, and maybe one of the things that makes the execution is so good, and what a lot of teams can learn from, not only in ranked games and people who are playing at home who are watching right now, even at pro level, is when they make a decision to push, there's no second guessing, right? They're always committed to that fight, and then that is kind of why they have so much success in those 3v3 team fights. It's the moment you have that moment of hesitation that you don't commit to a fight, that you leave that opening for other teams to try and capitalize.
Absolutely, and they're one of the best teams at it. I know I'm probably favoring them a lot, but it's because I think they just have a very distinct playstyle, very, very different from a lot of the teams here, and they're very fun. I think most people would agree they're a very fun team to watch, especially if you are able to tap into their communications. They can get a little wild sometimes.
Well, we just got a look at the Pathfinder beacon there on the map for just a second, and we are seeing that second ring's going to be pulling towards Mirage Voyage and encapsulating some of Thermal Station as well around that choke. So teams like Rogue are going to be in pretty good positions here with their Mirage drop early on to have a quick early strong rotation into potentially where that second circle is going to be. And now we're going to see Team Liquid as well making a rotation towards Mirage, and not the start here for Team Liquid that they would have wanted. Not enough points on the board for them to really mount a challenge, but a big opportunity for their potentially in this game number 3 to at least put some a little bit more respectability on that point leaderboard and push themselves up the table.
Absolutely, and as I said, it's the first place is 25 points right now. And obviously every team is going to pick up some points in the top more than likely. But all it takes is, you can get up to 30 points a game. All it takes is one really, really solid game. But I know that every player in the game right now is probably dreading this circle. I know this is a really frustrating one to play because it basically, all of it funnels through 2 major chokes. And depending on which side you're on, either you're playing for placements or you're just playing to kill every team around you, because you're probably going to end up dying once the circle starts to close.
Let's explore this way.
It's certainly going to be maybe an exciting one for viewers to watch at home, but not for the players to play, essentially, is what you're trying to say here. Absolutely. You've got to be early on that rotation if you're going to have some success as far as placement is concerned, but it does mean we are going to have a lot of team fights going down. And look at this already in Harvester. We are seeing a team fight go down. And Solar Fide are going to be the people who are taking a little bit of damage here, but it looks like they're going to try and back out. But the problem is, that Gibby Bubble, even though it's up, isn't going to last too long, but it looks like the portal went up as well to find some sort of escape for them. And you have to say, with the pressure that they were coming under there, Hodzik, pretty good job there from Solar Fide to get out of that awkward position.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the bubble was a little bit off the mark, but that Wraith portal, you know they were screaming in that call right there. Drop the portal, let us through. Really, they barely scooted by, but they'll take that. I mean, it's going to unfortunately cost them a lot of meds. They're going to use a lot of resources, but having 3 players alive with no resources is better than having one down almost always. So good escape on their end.
Well, we're watching some complexity gameplay now. So I think there's nothing better to do than we've watched their gameplay and how exciting that is. And we love listening to these guys as well. Full of character, full of energy as well. So let's jump into a listening now with the complexity lineup.
Is there some light here? Light mag and a Dogger. Got some energy. I'm pretty set on a heavy too. Alright, what's it looking like? Some cells here, can't pick up?
I have 8. I
have 12.
Cell here.
You guys want to posture towards Mirage then, I guess, and look for a fight there?
Let's go back here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's get that edge. I actually like that edge over by Mirage because if it ends down here at this compound, I think we have such a good rotate.
Yeah.
There's a team up on. There's a team down at all the compounds. There's a team up on.
There's a team under bridge here.
Yeah.
There's a team under bridge. Yeah.
You want to go Mirage? We can just bully.
Let's go around this way to Mirage.
Yeah. Down.
Yeah. Go Mirage. We can just bully everyone on that side, even team under bridge.
We can sit on like that side of the mountain too on the train tracks because it doesn't look like anybody's going to be coming from train side.
There's a team here that we can fight. They know we're here.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna. Yeah. Let me. Can we go around northwest and get an angle?
Verk Watson.
Okay.
I got his gen as well. I'm gonna ult.
I 61 cracked. Hit 100. Hit 100.
I cracked one. I hit 176. 76 on blue. I molly passed.
Yeah, me too. I'm burning one for blue.
Yep.
Nice. They TP'd or queued. I can't tell.
They're trying to.
There is a team top. What's it called?
There.
Top Mirage.
I'm not gonna take.
They're gonna get bullied. I don't know where that's going, but I think they're gonna get bullied.
Can we fence?
Team top Mirage. Yeah, I can fence it.
Yeah. They're gonna come back.
I think they are.
Okay, well, there's a shit ton
Yeah,
of
they're right here. They're right here. Took it back. Nope, that's a different one. Okay, he took a different TP.
Back too. They're like down here.
Yeah. Just careful of Mirage.
Where is this caustic gas from, or was it already here?
Yeah, that was already there.
Okay. A good zone. It's way south. It's farther south.
I think it's this one right here. Can we go west and come up on... No, there's a team there, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, looks like it. We could play...
And I'm glad, Hodzik, that they did show some energy and excitement after I gave them the gas up before, but it was the fight that was being initiated by Monsoon once again. They almost got the result that they were looking for from that fight, but the team managed to get away. And complexity, again, just from the comms, you could hear the playstyle they're trying to execute. It's backing up what we're saying to you at home. Trying to bully teams, trying to take fights, and the sentence that stood out for me is, this is a fight we can take. We can fight these guys.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's exactly as I called it. Even though we don't condone of bullying, that is their playstyle. I mean, they look for those edge teams. That is, they wanted to clearly kill that team. They destroyed the Watson ult. As soon as you destroy the Watson ult, that's a very easy Gibraltar ult right on top of that. I don't know which team that was. I don't know if one of them got picked. I saw someone went down in the kill feed after the portal, but that team. They probably are stuck. If they're still alive, they're probably stuck in a very, very bad spot now, courtesy of the bullying.
And as Hodzik said, we don't condone bullying, but we do condone fighting in Apex Legends. So if you want to take some aggression out, that's where to do it. And Complexity is showing exactly how to do it in this grand final tier of online tournament number 6. As Team Liquid now set up on the top of Mirage Voyage. They haven't moved much since we last saw them. No surprise with that power position as well. That circle is going to be enclosing, but one team who are in a fight here are Noble. They're trying to push a pretty smelly room here with the caustic inside it, and they are going to get aggressive and try and find that last player. There is a player down, and he's in the corner. And he's going to be taken down. So good job here from Noble to execute on that push and not be taking too much damage there from the Caustic as well.
Absolutely. Roof Koreans going down. Ironically, not on the roof. They are on the first floor. But unfortunately, they went down. It's going to end their run for this game. But good little isolated fight. Anytime you can take isolated fights like that, it's absolutely a lot of what you'll see in the North American region, just because not only is that 3 kill points and loot, but you have to think 3 kill points plus you eliminate a squad, which gives you placement. So that's even more points. So hats off to Noble for being able to execute that quick. If that was drawn out, they're immediately going to get third-partied. So well played by them.
Complexity again putting the pressure on the team, and they're desperately trying to escape again. And it seems at the moment that, like you mentioned, as soon as the team realizes they're being pushed by Complexity, they're out of there. They don't want to take that fight because they know what the result is most likely going to be. So probably some frustration creeping in here a little bit for Complexity as well, because they've had a couple of opportunities to push onto players. They've done damage onto the players from teams, and just not being able to get those knocks or those finishes maybe that they're looking for.
Absolutely. And one thing to note here, actually, is we see Reptar getting a knock here on Saucer from Team HRN. The rest of the team just trying to get out. Hill going down as well. Looks like Complexity will just be happy with those 2 kills as they just clean them up and try to loot very quickly. But and one thing that maybe like the audience at home might not realize is, all of these players are constantly playing each other, either in scrims or in ranked. So one way that people kind of realize its complexity is Monsoon uses, for example, he uses a Wraith skin that not many others use. It was a very early skin released in Apex called Airship Assassin. So that's one of the telltale signs that typically other teams, you'll hear like, oh, that's this team, that's this team. If you listen to their comms, teams usually identify each other through the skins that they use. So a lot of teams, yes, it is true. A lot of teams, when they see that Airship Assassin Wraith skin, they try to book it the other way, and unfortunately there for HRN, they were not able to squeak through.
Another one of those notable skins. You see the bright green Pathfinder skin of Albrelele that certainly is distinguishable amongst all of the colors. Yeah, the big watermelon boy. Just very distinguishable in that particular lineup. But now, we'll be watching Prodigy Aces, Joey Blackout, and Rogue. They're set up underneath the platform here at Thermal Station. They're going to have to make their way across some open ground here. You can see there's so many Watford fences in front of them, so many teams who are going to be looking to hold them out, and they're going to have to do some damage and try and back a team down before they can look to push in or maybe make their move towards that third circle. But 1 minute 35 left on this ring. They're going to have to make some decisions pretty soon here, Hodzik.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are fortunate enough to be on the southern end of the circle. Most of the teams you'll see, you see all these teams are basically pulling that Rogues team right there, but most of these teams are going to be on this end of the circle right here, the north side, and this is why most players hate this circle. When it closes, you're going to see a lot of teams die. Expect to see the squads counter go to like maybe 10, and then it's going to be even more after the next circle closes, because it is a very tough rotation. So being on the southern end, you got a little bit more leeway, got a little bit more cover, more areas that you can play to work around. But obviously, as you see, every team is basically focusing them because they want those kill points, so it might be a little bit rough for them.
This is where, if you're on the outside of this zone right now, you better hope that you've got some sort of mobility or some way to get across that open land that you have to try and traverse here. The Gibraltar bubble will be vital in these kind of rotations, or maybe a Wraith portal to try and find some sort of sneaky area. But the difficulty here, Hodzik, there's so many different elevations around this particular circle that, they're always going to be coming under fire from those teams up on the likes of Mirage Voyage, up on Thermal Station building. So that makes it even tougher. And if you have to move across essentially some more level playing field where maybe you can play a truck, maybe you can play a rock or so, and just back yourself down and kind of just survive until those teams are going to be taken out around you.
Absolutely. And one of the most frustrating things I think about the map World's Edge, and this isn't necessarily a criticism, it's just naturally part of the map, is Mirage Voyage. I know a lot of players don't like to play around here because of how frustrating that point of interest is. You get this massive elevated area to work with, and you basically control the tempo around that entire area. Rotating through there, if there's a team on Mirage with snipers, rotating through there is basically, that's not happening, no matter what. So it can be really frustrating for a lot of teams to play around that. We see actually, I'm not sure who that was, we see Fire going down to Liquid, which is actually up on Mirage. So this is what I'm talking about. Like they're, I don't know if they're hard pushing on them or if they have the snipers out, but they are definitely controlling the tempo here.
This is going to be bad news if you're a fan of Nightwing and the Yeet squad, because they are going to be taken down. Team Liquid looking to get aggressive, but the only problem is it looks like they're going to be hassled on their way in as well. So Team Liquid will fall. And like you were saying here, Hotic, all of a sudden we're down to 16 squads. And with that circle moving in, especially on this next circle, we are going to see teams being taken down, as we see RKM picking up down there in the feed as well. And Monsoon getting aggressive once again. And Complexity now moved into a little bit of a sneaky position here under the platform. They've got the Watson Alter down, so they can kind of rebalance and reestablish themselves on the map. But now we're seeing teams start to get competitive, start to have to make those pushes, and one of those teams who are going to have to at least make a rotation here, once again, being just outside of that next zone, are TSM, who are currently still in contention here with 15 squads remaining.
And this is one of the most frustrating things when the next circle shows and you're in a decent spot, but you're just barely outside. This entire circle for TSM plays different if it's just a couple meters in their favor in their house. All of a sudden they can use that house for cover and to try to control the area a little bit better. But now they have to make that awkward rotation where they don't even have a lot of cover in front of them. So it's so interesting just how any circle just in a matter of meters can really shift how a lot of these teams play.
Now we're going to do the push in here from Denial, but fortunately for him, he's going to be beaten pretty easily. Flamer's going to be down in front of him. That kill will be finished off as I'm going to continue with that fight, and it's Promo who backed him up there just momentarily to make sure that his teammates didn't come under too much pressure. But you can see it's just a real game of posturing now for these teams, trying to set up those next rotations. And I want you to break down a little bit what goes on in the team comms here between the three players, because this is where the IGL really stands out and makes those big decisions that can make or break your game.
Absolutely. So basically, and I love the way Reps described this. Him and I have talked about this a lot in the past. Competitive Apex basically comes down to a very simple formula. It's obviously not simple, but there's a lot of scenarios and mechanics to it, but it's basically you keep rotating around the circle, and then around the third or fourth circle, you have to fight one big fight for a spot, and then you're golden till the end game. So it's always, a lot of the games are really determined by that one really big fight, and you're going to see a lot of these teams forced into that one really big fight right here, as every team scrambles. Not a lot of space in the circle for 14 teams.
And one player who doesn't need space to work with is Snipe Down. He comes in on the flank there and just absolutely lasers the player down with the R9 9 shots. Oh, and speaking of nice shots, there's a crispy one onto Rambo from the barrel of the Kraber in the hands of Sweet there. A beautiful shot, and he looks like he's going to try and get that portal down as well. A Snipe Down did get knocked momentarily, so he can have an escape route here to try and get back into the game, but it looks like the push is actually going to be coming in here from Polygage's squad. And now the action really is starting to pick up. We were around 16 squads just a few moments ago, but now we're down to just 7 as NRG are one of those teams who are also in a battle here, but Prodigy Aces is going to have to queue out of this battle, and we really are starting to see the intensity of these fights pick up now, Optic.
Yeah, and you see Rogue, that team, as Rogue goes down. Unfortunately, but this is what I'm talking about. That one really tough rotation. They got to fight for it no matter what. And that was also, similarly, that was TSM's tough rotation. Now they have the spot. They might still be getting contested here by aim assist, but now they have a really good defensible spot that they can hold for at least the next 50 seconds. And that's basically what a lot of it is about. It's about just moving, knowing where the circle is going to go. A little bit of luck is involved for sure, but then being able to play the scenario as best as you can and focus the teams that you need to is basically what separates the really good teams from the really great teams.
So 5 squads remaining here, 28 seconds left on this circle as well, and that's where those teams who are currently outside are going to have to try and get inside. We see the portal going to be good enough there for Sweet to get back in the game and manage to get that res onto Snipe Down as well. So Rogue will be a full complement of teams, but the only issue for them here is how do they get into the next zone? Because that looks like a pretty difficult job for them to do.
So this could be actually it. They're trying to get the zip into the Drop is going to heal here. They're going to take that portal last second and then just try to zip out. Really smart. It's the only thing they can do in order. If they can just stall any couple seconds, they might be able to get a couple extra placement points here, though, as other teams start to fall. And unfortunately, no gold res. They're out.
So it'll be Rogue.
They're out.
So it'll be Rogue that fall. They were our 3rd place team coming into this game at number 3, and unfortunately for them, just a case of that being a horrible circle for their rotation. They just got stuck in the one pocket of air that was stuck between them and that next circle. But now we're going to see aim assist moving in again and Prowler in the hands here of the Wraith player, Gentrifying, and TSM still involved in this game as well. So 3 teams. We've got Aim Assist, we've got TSM. I'm not sure who that final team is, but now we're going to see, almost like we saw in game 1 here, Hotsick, just waiting for one team to make that move, to do that damage, to get that down before all of this final circle fight will kick off.
Absolutely, and most of it comes down to the team that has to move last in terms of where the next circle is usually that team that tries to, as the most, not fight, because it's whichever 2 teams have to move first are usually the ones that end up having to fight. So looks like at TSM, I think are the ones that are closest to the circle. They got a little bit at their back, and they have a lot of cheeky angles here, especially with Pathfinder. This is one of the things that's still really strong about Pathfinder, being able to get that height. They have a lot of cheeky angles here where they might be able to get a lot of damage, because the biggest thing, we see the third team is actually Noble. They're only 2, and you see they're on the long end of the circle. So they're going to be probably the first team to have to move, and both teams are going to be looking for that. And probably watch out for, as one team starts shooting at Noble, I'm assuming it would probably be TSM kind of counter trading. The way I'm thinking is going to be Aim Assist shooting at Noble, and as Aim Assist is shooting at Noble, TSM is going to take that advantage to get any damage off on them. So it's going to be a big triangle of doing damage to each other to see who gets each other lowest.
I love the fact that TSM have set up a portal as well to just get a secondary angle once that circle does close. There's going to be 2 TSM players here, and there's going to be Albalelli, who's left behind as the Pathfinder, still playing that rocket. Now we're going to see the forced move in here for Noble. They will manage to get one knock here onto... It will be Aim Assist who managed to get one knock. Rex comes in as well for TSM to put the pressure on, and here comes the push now from TSM. Surely this has to be Team Solo mid-game to win, and it is. It is clean, it is clinical, and TSM take your game number 3. Fantastic stuff from them.
Absolutely. I mean, that's textbook right there. They read that Noble, I think, was on the east side of that circle by them, and similar to how we saw Rogue win their game. Identify the 2 teams, identify who has to move first and then second, and then try to be that third team closest to the circle that doesn't have to move, forces them 2 to fight, and then you come in quick for the cleanup. Very textbook by TSM. Absolutely job well done.
And of course, they were in second place before this game number 3. So I would imagine with that big win and some KP to go alongside it, they will be moving up into first place. TSM certainly back in contention for another online championship here. But I would love the proactiveness as well from TSM in that end circle. A lot of times you'll see teams kind of posture and wait for that opportunity. But I love the fact that they set that portal up to at least get different angles. I know it might seem like something super simple to do, but getting multiple angles on those 2 teams are going to have to rotate. It's just that next level thinking that maybe some other teams wouldn't put into play in those situations.
Absolutely, and because they did have the circle, even though they were on the slow side of the circle, they did have it right at their back, so they'd have to move. Putting that portal closer to the circle, they still had it close to their back, but the further in you get, the slower it is, and the less you're forced to move. And it played out almost exactly as I called it. It's all about which teams move first. Aim Assist had to fire at Noble. It's kind of like you got to do it. If you don't, it might screw you over. But if you do, it's still going to screw you over, because as TSM's a smart team, as Aim Assist is taking out Noble, TSM is going to capitalize on that opportunity to get free damage on them. And that's exactly what they did. Textbook cleanup.
And the crazy thing about it is the fact that TSM, we know how they like to adapt. They react to situations they've been in where maybe things didn't go their way in a previous game. The fact that they had almost that, exact scenario in game number 1 where they didn't manage to pull out the win and they were one of those last 3 teams remaining. The fact that they can come back just a few games later and been put in that same position, that's a testament to how they've adapted, not only from, a disappointment in game 1, but being able to bounce back in game 3 and convert onto a win there.
Absolutely, and it's kind of just the way they seem to play tournaments. They're, like I said earlier, they don't typically do all that hot in the first half of tournaments. They kind of always come in towards the later half, and they just start to dominate. I don't know if they treat the first couple games as warm up or what, but it's certainly it's a weird kind of consistent from them, and it's something you can count on typically in tournaments from them.
Yeah, big players seem to step up in the big moments, and game 4 and 5 are certainly those moments that you do want to be stepping up. I'm just looking across here, and we do have the results coming in. TSM with 19 points with that win. They got 7 KP to go alongside it. Noble in second with 5 KP as well. And aim assist, as we saw, that third place team. But NRG and Rogue still very much in contention now, Hodzic. That was a 4th place finish for NRG there with 10 points on the board, and Rogue putting 8 on the board. So although TSM do pull out a big win here in game number 3, you have to say that Rogue and NRG still very much in contention with 2 games to go.
Absolutely. And the dark horse that I was talking about as well, Noble, I believe they unfortunately had a disconnect in game 2, but here they are. They're still rolling with the punches. Their head's still in the game, and they're putting up really big points. Like I said, don't sleep on them. They've been putting up crazy results the past couple of tournaments, and they're very underrated players, I think, in the scene.
Yeah, I think they've proved that, already in online tournament number 6. We weren't talking about them. You said, keep an eye on these guys. They're going to impress you. And you have to say they've been incredibly impressive so far in the tournament. Noble certainly putting in a good performance here, but certainly a team to keep watching as the tournaments roll on here in competitive Apex Legends. And I'm just, again, just looking through the leaderboards here and looking at the KP that have been put up, the points in total. And, I'm looking at the likes of Complexity there, 7 points on the board, maybe not what they would have wanted. And, 5 of those coming from KP, not to be scoffed at in any kind of way, but for now that's going to do it. Hodzic, we'll break down game number 5 when we get the opportunity to cast the finals of this, but before we get there, we've got game number 4, and before we get there, we've of course got to go back to the analyst desk. So it's over to Rainday and Jayla.
Thanks so much, guys, for letting me know. Welcome back to the analyst desk. Had to hit a couple of buttons at home. I'm not only on screen, but I'm my own engineer here as well. So I think that's one of the things you guys don't realize. I'm making all the fixes behind the scenes. This time I was a little unmuted. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Jayla, great finish to that game. TSM, they grab a win. And this is what we've kind of been looking for. How would they respond after missing that tournament number 5? But it seems like game 3, after 2 early game 1 finishing second, obviously game 2 having a good performance as well, game 3 winning, it seems like they are back and they're in full form with something to prove.
TSM is definitely putting numbers on the board. Honestly, they might have something to prove this match. They didn't qualify last time, so maybe they're coming for the win this time to get their spot back. It was interesting to see their push in to the circle. It didn't look like they actually had that, but the position that aim assist and Noble were in, they actually had to shoot at each other, so they had the opportunity to take advantage and third party that and actually get the win. So it was cool seeing TSM come out on top this one.
And it's great that you bring up aim assist and Noble, 2 teams we talked about a little bit. One you highlighted, one no one highlighted, and has been making a huge impact here. Top 3 in 2 games now. Let's go into that final moment again. The controller stars, aim assist. The controller stars, aim assist. You mentioned them. They were so close to getting this one, Jayla.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was their game. I was kind of rooting for them, rooting for this controller team, but unfortunately, they had to take that fight with Noble before the fight with TSM. And as I believe it was one of the Pathfinders pushing in, he took damage from the storm and made damage and went down immediately when pushing in. So TSM definitely took advantage of that and got the win.
And that's one moment where exposed high ground is actually not what you want. TSM had some low ground they could kind of duck behind. The top of the rock wasn't really easy to play in with the circle. And of course, Noble, and what was kind of too unfortunate about that Hodzic had mentioned was that the teams who might have been the biggest underdogs against TSM fought each other instead of really giving either of them an honest go to try and take down what has been for many tournaments the top dog in North America. And it's resulted in these points. Hanset was mentioning it a little bit, but team solo mid 19 points, Noble White with 14, aim assist with 12, and Rogue and NRG rounding out the top 5 with 10 and 8 points, 8 and 10 points respectively. What I love seeing here, not only just TSM showing up, but Noble. I mean, the fact that these guys on Mouvain, Blitzen, have been performing at this level without really a lot of hype around them, without a lot of conversation in these ALGS tournaments prior, that's got to be saying something. And they're bringing a caustic to the meta. How do you feel about the way Noble's kind of finding themselves in these top 3s, and what are they doing that you're seeing, Jayla, that's working to get them there?
Honestly, I was kind of surprised to see them playing Caustic. Unfortunately, the Caustic did not make it to the last circle where the fights were happening. It would have been interesting to see how they could have played there, like with the Caustic. Maybe it would have turned out a little bit differently. As far as how they're playing, we're not really getting too much like footage of like how they're playing, but that end circle when they were holding that crate right there, it was honestly we had no idea where they were even at for a good portion of time until they showed them. I didn't know they were even in there. So they're playing pretty smart. They have to be playing smart in order to end the game twice with TSM in the top 3. So
only thing we want to see now is like a full-on. Everyone's got 3 full shields, Evo shields across the board, and they just get into a solid gunfight. Like we haven't really seen a fair battle towards that final end, but that's because TSM, Rogue, and the rest of the squads like NRG have been putting themselves in better positions to win, and that's why it is TSM in first place with 43 points. NRG with 35, tied for second with Noble, White, who have yet to win a game but have just been so consistent today in online tournament 6. Rogue at number 4 with 30 points, and then Complexity following down there in 5. Now, we've got some highlights to walk through, Jayla, but I have big conversations that I want to kind of bring back to you. Let's go back to NRG. Second place here. This is where we've seen, and I've seen, NRG fall off. That doesn't seem to be the case today.
most definitely not the case at all. I know they had a little bit of trouble getting like qualifying. They had a lot of technical issues, but it's cool to see them like not like let that really take away from their performance. They came, honestly, this is one of their strongest performances I've seen, so I'm pretty happy to see how NRG's doing.
TSM still obviously contending so well, and part of it is that, yeah, they may have something to prove, but also you see a little bit of a differential here. The EVA 8 kind of dominating NRG's win by Tree in game 2. Ton of massive play coming out from Hal and the boys from TSM as well to kind of make things happen here in game number 3. But a lot of aggression. I think that might have been the story of today's game. Following along with Complexity for quite a while, you, me, and I think the rest of the casting crew, we're just kind of watching and saying, how do they get away with this? How is the aggression that we're seeing? And sometimes like blind aggression, not necessarily the smartest play, but maybe an ego play there. Like, yeah, we're better than you. Let's just push into that and take that fight because we think we'll win. How do you think that's affecting the lobby, if at all? And what do you think about Complexity in that obviously 5th or I believe 6th spot, having a chance to do something crazy in these next few games?
Honestly, I love watching Complexity. Monsoon is a hilarious guy. It's funny seeing them pushing people and people running for them, because I know that if I was in this game, if I saw Monsoon, if I saw Complexity, I would definitely turn the other direction. So I know that teams are afraid of them, and I think that they know that too, which is why they're being so aggressive and why they are playing the way that they are playing. As far as them making, I don't know, maybe top 3, I don't know, because they just, you know, as Hawk said earlier, the Complexity curse. They start off, you know, pretty well, but then like, you know, sometimes it just doesn't go the way that they might have planned.
Well, obviously, we've got some fantastic stuff coming up, and we've got some tweets you guys have been mentioning with us as well. I mean, we want to make sure you keep using hashtag ALGS, and there it is right there. Let's go, TSM. Glad le jour. I think I butchered that, Jayla. I don't know. Do you have a better pronunciation of that
You
one?
might have, honestly.
Remember, Super Region schedule, it's coming up. It's hanging out with us in the summer, all summer long, giving you something to do. June 21st to kick it off, following at July 12th, July 26th, and August 9th for regionals 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then finishing off with some playoffs in September. Use hashtag ALGS to stay with us, tweet at us, and of course, follow us on Play Apex at Twitter, at YouTube, and of course at Twitch to stay in tune with everything that we're doing here for the broadcast. Listen, we've talked a lot about it, Jayla. We've got some fantastic people who are hanging out with us and putting on a show, not only in-game, but also as a casting pair. And guess what? We are coming to you guys very, very soon. It's going to be Fallout and Jamerson who are taking us through this next game. And boy, I'm excited to see how the action continues to pick up. Will TSM reclaim their throne? NRG and Noble kind of in that dark horse spot. What will they do? Let's find out as we send it over to your casters for our next game.
Rain Day, Jayla, thank you so much. Fallout here, joined alongside Jamerson, getting ready for game number 4 in this one. The dropship is loaded and players are launching. So let's go ahead and jump right into gameplay when we can. As it looks like we do have a 5-way race is what it looks like in our top 5. Mostly those top 3 or 4. It's Rogue, Noble, NRG, TSM, and then Complexity lagging behind with 21 points in 5th place. We'll keep a close eye on those 5 rosters as they're looking to run away with this one. But Jamerson, going into game 4, anything in particular you're looking out for?
In particular right now is, of course, once again, TSM. Is this a return to form? You know, the last few weeks, the last few online tournaments, there seems to be a little cloud of despair that came across TSM where they were just trying to figure out what's going wrong. But now they're back to almost that consistency that we saw before the fall in OT3. Finally coming in end, their win streak, the TSM a dynasty that was. And so I want to see if they can continue this trend with 2 more games to go.
Yeah, it's a good call out. Meanwhile, we have the likes of Rogue, Team Liquid has won, Skirt has won, a few other rosters that have won championships and online tournaments more recently. Really, the only of those 3 you got to think is Rogue in a position to potentially close this out. So can Rogue start to try and match the 2 online tournaments that TSM has won on top of the other 5 tournaments that they've won total? Is the question. TSM has really been the dynasty to kick off Apex Legends. Has slowed down a little bit. They didn't qualify for the last online tournament, as you mentioned. They're coming back with a vengeance here, and they've been playing incredibly well with multiple top 3 finishes. So we'll see if TSM can continue that run. Meanwhile, we're on board with the team. They're tricky here as we're watching to see as they're rotating over towards Fragment East. Jamerson, talk to me a little about what you've seen so far from a ring poll perspective. What ring are we going to see here in late game?
Right now, it does look like we do have a northwestern ring, and so very similar to what we got in game number 1. But I don't know if it'll pull as hard towards Trials. It looks like I did get the beacon there, and so
Might be something good this way.
for the next few fights, as it looks like it will be going over in that direction. So a lot of teams are going to be looking to take the north side drill kind of cliff, where you have the champion banners that you can really play and have really good line of sight all the way to the south. And of course, trying to control any building within drill site proper will be the main focus for a lot of our teams.
Yep, there you have it. Thank you for the breakdown as always, Jamerson. Good to get your insight and perspective. Meanwhile, a team that is very far from that location is Noble, as they're going to have quite the rotation to make, coming all the way from Dome. That's going to be a far rotation for them. So they've placed top 3 twice. They've had some very consistent gameplay. They're currently in 3rd place, tied with NRG with 35 points. A good opportunity here, but it's going to be quite the rotation that they're going to have to make all the way from Dome towards that ring. So we'll see and keep an eye on them as they make their way over. Meanwhile, Team 303, it's Scissors, Fury, and Phonyhead in a pretty good spot to try and get the early rotation over.
I believe this is Complexity on the other side here. As Complexity, we're looking for a team trying to spot anyone out in Epicenter, but it looks like Trouble found them.
Let's go this way.
Exactly right. On board 303 and Complexity right now, as it looks like they're getting in a little bit of a fight early on, but I think they're just going to back out and reset. They value their lives, and it might be a wise decision. 303 obviously a little bit behind from a points perspective, though, so they're going to need a high kill game plus a high finish game if they want to kind of bounce their way back into this. So it might not be a bad idea to take some of these fights, but if it's Complexity, if they know it's Complexity, it's not a 3 versus 3 they necessarily want to take. So currently going to back out, rotate through Fragment, and try to take whatever loot is left in Fragment. Looks like there's not going to be much. Meanwhile, we talked about the journey, the trek that Noble has to make all the way from the Dome to where the ring is, and they are certainly making their way over through towards the tree and slowly trying to get their way towards that rotation as fast as they can, leveraging a Wraith portal as well to get there.
It looks like they will get to safety here, so this is going to be interesting. It looks like they do just want to try and push up the west side of the map here, which is why they're going such a roundabout way. And so this is a path that's going to basically leave a lot of teams off of their rotation. I'm surprised that they ran into anyone at all. Someone's still in sorting factory, and so I think they were just as surprised as we were that they got shot at.
Exactly, especially this late into the round here too. It's a little shocking to see someone towards sorting factory right now, but interesting path they're taking. We'll keep an eye on that, and big shout out to our observing team for watching that journey and giving us overhead of where the maps are so we can see how they're making that rotation. Meanwhile, on board of Team Liquid, a squad that has won a championship, and we thought kind of emerged as a top 2, top 3 team in North America. Did not necessarily have the online tournament number 5 they would have liked after winning, I believe it was online tournament number 3 or 4. We're currently on board with Team Liquid, seeing what they can do, as they're currently way behind in the leaderboards. And look how many teams have already ascended towards drill site on that rotation, Jamerson.
Yeah, it looked like Team Liquid were listening in on our stream, even though we got a 5-minute delay here. They took that position that I was talking about, the north side of drill site, where you can play that cliff. It's absolutely safe. You can have good sight lines over whatever your flanks are, and holding it down, especially with the Watson, is extremely easy. And so that's a position that you want to be in if you want to be, of course, in center zone, but primarily try to play for the third parties, try to get any kind of poke off from distance and get that KP safely without having to commit to any fights.
Yeah, that's a wise decision. Meanwhile, smart rotation coming through here from Sama, Marianas, and Pride Junior Claws. They're able to be really the only team working their way through these train tracks all the way through Skyhook. So playing a safe rotation on the high side of the map, they're not going to see much resistance as they make this rotation. As I didn't believe I saw any teams on the map. They're kind of hugging the outskirts and working their way in.
Let's explore this.
As they don't have necessarily intel with that Pathfinder just yet. Beacon intel as to where that next ring is going to be. So I wonder if they're going to stop at Skyhook and try to get some beacon intel on that way through. And speaking of which, that's why we're seeing a lot of Pathfinder play still. Even after the nerf, even after thought that was the burial of Pathfinder in competitive Apex, well, we still see the majority of teams in Europe and in North America playing Pathfinder. Reason for that is his passive, his beacon, the ability to know where the ring is going to be, rotate and get a prime position is why TSM has been so successful throughout their tenure in competitive Apex, and that stays true here in Online Tournament number 6 and in Season 5, no change.
Yeah, we were on board with aim assist right there, and we were talking about finding a roundabout rotation to not to get into too many fights while you're trying to make it into zone, but it looked like they were spotted out. 303 was the team that was coming on in, but now we're back over here at Skyhook. Got a push coming out from Zeratrix's team, but they've got a Caustic in their way.
That's exactly right. It looks like a fight may ensue here. Still 20 squads left, so no early game action. We didn't see any contests or what we call 50-50s where teams will trade a fight on hotspots like Fragment East. Meanwhile, looks like they do have a fight here that is looming. Will they take it or will they opt for a rotation? This is the same crew that we saw earlier in Game 4 as they're kind of just scouting out, trying to find that team, and they're going to back out and reset. No fight will ensue here. Just some healthy pokes, and Mercy and Co. who's a Team Zeratrix is going to rotate through.
I'm trying to figure out exactly what they're doing with this with this route, but it looks like they're just going to go ahead and cut down Skyhook and no longer maybe shoot for the western edge of this circle. So this might be the wise play here and try and buy some time. Try to get a little bit more information about where teams are right now, because take a look. This is one of the slower lobbies we've had so far, where only one player's gone down. There's a knock onto Frex's. So we're back on board with aim assist over here at Thermal Station. They've got 303 pinned down.
Yep, but they are in the ring right now taking damage. This is a bit of a standoff, and this is a standoff I don't think if you're either team that you want to be in. Sentinels, of course, led by Senox here, is the team that is currently getting just rained fire down on and getting damaged quite a bit. So you got to think this is a bad situation for Sentinels. It's going to result in nothing good, really, especially for them. Honestly, for either team, I think finally Aim Assist is going to recognize that and say, hey, guys, it's not worth 3 kill points. Let's get ourselves a rotation. Let's be a little smarter here. But you better believe they're going to keep tracking and kind of stormtrooping on these Sentinel squad as they wait to see how they rotate in, because they're going to have to come in somewhere. Will they go through tracks, or will they go through that choke point? 2 key choke points that I think we're going to have Aim Assist watching on both sides. So it's going to be a tough rotation for Sentinels.
Yeah, and it looks like they are going to be trying to hunt down for this. I mean, Aim Assist love to take fights up close, and that's kind of their MO. They want to be right on top of you, and it's easy if you're forced into them. Right now, though, on board with Bowser as he's dropped down to 20 HP.
It's going to be the Yeet Squad here in the trials. That's going to be all she wrote for the Yeet Squad. Team Nicewig going to get taken out early here in trials by, I believe that is Solafide. Actually, no, they're getting kills elsewhere on the map. Solafide is getting some kills, but it's going to, yep, it is, sorry. It is going to be Solafide in the fight towards trials. Good kills picked up right there by Team Solafide, who's been a really, really good squad. If you're a fan of a squad that is just stuck together, has worked and improved every single game, very similar in my eyes to Nasky, Strafe, and Dell on the European side. They really started as an underrated team, weren't considered a top 3 or top 5 team in North America, and slowly but surely increased and improved their placements every single online tournament. And now they are a staple. You got to put them in the running for top 5 in North America, undoubtedly. And it's a lot of the reason is for this guy right here, Metro, controller player on this team, former football player who was going to go to the University of Maryland and play D1 football, got in a horrible car accident and damaged his back significantly, and really kind of found an outlet in competitive Apex. And since then, has put everything into Apex. So big shout out to Metro of Team Solafide. I'm excited to see his career continue to flourish and develop, as Solafide has been a great team to watch. And big shout out to the Solafide organization as well.
Yeah, it's an incredible story coming out of gamers doing such amazing things. Right now, though, Complexity, they're the ones that always get aggressive, and now they're going to push forward on this squad.
That's what we're used to seeing. Complexity with a bit of a trap here on over towards Train Yard. Going to get some good shots in. That's going to be another clean team wipe. And guess what? That's going to be on the aim assist squad that was kind of griefing in the storm earlier against Sentinels. Decided to rotate. That was the right decision, but it's a difficult situation when you get kind of trapped by Complexity, who's going to get an easy 3 kills right there. So that's 1 full squad wipe for Complexity. Currently in 5th place with 21 points, so certainly not out of this yet. They could have 2 big games here and finish on top if they can pop off. Meanwhile, Rocker's going to take out Fury of 303, so we're seeing some squad wipes come through. Only 17 squads remain in this one.
Yeah, we've also got Lil Poggies to their north as well, and so that's what a lot of teams are going to do right now, take positioning over here at Drill Site, as we don't have further information about where the next ring will go. No team's really able to secure that right now, but the fact that Little Pugs are now down to 2 in a position where it's going to be difficult for them. They can try to go for, of course, that res right outside, but it's going to be so tricky with, of course, Team Liquid having that nice position up on the hill. They can look down at them. There are 2 other teams, I believe, in the immediate area as well. But Force, putting down some decent damage might buy them an opening to try and go for the Zenial respawn.
Yep. And we've seen all types of respawns come through from Lil Poggies already, of course, in game number 2. Not game number 1, by the way. Sorry for the brain fart earlier. As we're currently watching Mercy, Zeritricker, and Mr. Hoculo. We're still in Skyhook. I like the decision. I was actually going to say it earlier. They should try and rotate to the building with the beacon. Try to grab that beacon. That could be crucial for them. But they're going to be met with resistance there. Some other team is actually already thinking the same exact thing. So look at this. Literally just across the wall. And you love this X-ray vision that you have with this beautiful spectator mode now in Apex Legends, where we can kind of see the player outlines. If you're maybe new to competitive Apex, the players cannot see that, obviously. We only get to see that as spectators. So it's an interesting fight. It looks like Mercy is playing with a little bit of fire, as it's a Caustic that's going to be in there. So yeah, you're not going to want to necessarily push a Caustic, who is perfectly set up right now. And obviously that Caustic means they're not running a Pathfinder, so they're not going to be able to grab that beacon. And I think Mercy, or Zeritricky, sorry, could grab that beacon if he does want to. We'll see if he decides to play for it.
I appreciate what Mercy is trying to do, bait them out into the line of fire of Zeritricky, as they understand they've got some time to work with. Zeritricky going on in. Nice spray with that R9 is going to force the Q out of the Wraith.
That's exactly right. It looks like a fight is going to ensue, so they decide with a lot of confidence to push this Caustic team, who set up quite well. Zeritricky, Hoculo, and Mercy. By the way, Hoculo only has 50 shield to his name. They got some good shots in. The Wraith will be able to heal up. Mercy's trying to be the playmaker and get some wingman shots, but he's not going to connect. Here comes his teammates instead. They are trapped right now like rats in a cage. Caustic, of course, playing down some Caustic gas, trying to keep his team in a decent situation. Nades are going to come through as well. This is an intense fight right now between these 2 teams. A lot of tension in this one. It looks like things are going to kind of reset here. I don't think there's a good opportunity for either team to push.
He hit him for flash, and now he's trying to finish him off. 38-38, almost got the knock. He's so close. But what they can do at this point, with 30 seconds to go, getting the knock is going to be huge. And now they have, of course, just the man advantage. They can go ahead and play for position instead. But the port is coming out now, and Haculo's on the hunts.
Yeah, here it is. And it looks like Wraith is just going to back out and reset. So that's going to be the Caustic who went down, and that's going to be a kill picked up. So they had an opportunity. Very well played right there by Team Zeritricky. I love the setup. And of course, they tried placing the portal for that Caustic, but they're right behind them. That's going to be a team wipe coming through, I believe, for Zeritricky, as we heard the sound effect come through. Meanwhile, Solified in an intense fight right here. And I believe we have an opportunity in a moment to jump into a listen-in with Solified. I'll wait for that confirmation, as I'd love to kind of hear what's going on with the comms of Team Solifide. Currently on board with Clarify, Pride, and of course Metro, who I mentioned earlier. Former competitive football player. The comms are ready. Let's go ahead and jump into a listen-in with Team Solifide.
No, but it's not TSM, Cole, NRG, or any.
They're taking over right now. The Gibby team's taking over where we want to take.
Damn.
Taking the other side, the left side.
Yeah, they took the other side. Honestly, that's better. We want this side. The other side's rough.
Well, then Portal, we should go to the other side late then. Or like just run up and then Portal.
And it's going to be Solifide right there, picking up 3 kills. And guess who it is against? It is against the number 4 Rogue squad, who I think Solifide is in 6th. They're looking to take Rogue out, which is huge, as an opportunity to leapfrog them in the overall standings. You better believe that's going to be a good chance to do that. They picked up, I believe, what was their 6th kill. Actually, I take that back. 5 kills already for Pride alone. That is absolutely insane. Good kill, good 3 versus 3 fight coming in from Solafide. And our apologies is we did have the wrong team right there in terms of overall listening. Just want to be a bit transparent in that, as that's why the comms were a bit clear and concise. I was like, I was expecting to be a little more hectic in that fight right there, Damerson.
But that is huge, especially because of all the kill points that they picked up and taking out a direct competitor, Rogue. We're leading them 10 points at the leaderboard before this now, and so Solafide posturing really well now in game number 4. We'll see. We swap on over to Team Liquid, still in that position on the high ground. Nocturnal knocked, but I'm surprised that they haven't been able to do more with this position so far, with the amount of fights that have been going on in the chokes to their north and their northwest.
Yeah, Team Liquid very well positioned right now, and obviously well shielded as well. If you look at their overall resources as a team, purple shields for Casper and Nocturnal, of course blue as well. On board of Mazer. Mazer playing with no Cocoa Puffs and knocked, and I think this might be it for him. The portal should come through momentarily. Zach Mazer doing everything he can. Gets some good, massive shots. The valiant effort. He finally gets taken out. Meanwhile, NRG finds himself in a scuffle as well. Reps, keep an eye at the top right of your screen. The kill feed. They did get the kill on Zach, so TSM continues to pick up some kill points. Meanwhile, NRG 303 currently in a fight over towards Drill Site. And it looks like 303 is going to place a nice little cheeky zip line for themselves to try and get some high ground if they can.
You have the knock, Team Liquid trying to make that move, but now Flanker going down low. It's going to be all up to Nocturnal here, trying by space for Flanker, but he's going down. Now it's all up to Nocturnal.
Exactly right. Nocturnal last member alive for Team Liquid. Flanker is still down, but you got to think he's quite far away. Will he try and go get a res here? A cheeky little res with so many teams nearby, or will he just save his life and try to rat his way to a top finish? I think teasing the res or playing for the res is the right call. Liquid is so far behind in overall points that they need to get kills, and to get kills, you need some teammates. So a res will be sneak. Meanwhile, TSM finds himself in a bit of a fight here. And that's actually going to be against Rogue, not the team Rogue, but the player Rogue, as it looks like TSM is going to down Rogue. Imperial Hal goes down, however, by Prodigy Aces, so Reps already taken out. Imperial Hal is down. Albrelelli, the last member alive here. Solafide is going to pick up some more kills. So a pop-off game here for Solafide, which is much needed, as they were in 6th or 7th place in the standings. And TSM in a potentially difficult situation between a rock and a hard place here.
Al will be able to pick up his skill points for his team, which is the important part. Right now, they are leading the leaderboard. They want to make sure they get every single KP. Every single knock has to be converted into that so they can maintain this, and especially if they can make it into the top 5. Make sure that they post up points onto this as we head into game number 5 right now. Back on board with Solafide there, playing on the north-hand side. We got 9 squads left, 24 players remaining.
There you have it. Solafide in a decent spot to rotate towards that ring. Keep an eye on the top left of your screen where that ring is going to condense to. So Solafide well positioned, going to be taking some damage here in a bit of a difficult situation as they're going to be healing up, trying to survive here. It looks like we do have the team comms available this time for Solafide. Let's go ahead and jump back into a listen-in with Solafide.
Pride, give me gold pound before you do that. I need ult.
Oh my god, I just dropped. No!
Yeah, here. Take the armor, quick. Give me gold pound.
Dropped it.
Popping
I'm trying to bully left team.
Getting shot from both sides. I'm using all my cells.
You have to stay healthy. You have to stay healthy. They have to push towards us. You guys need to be fucking throwing nades right here. They have to work in front. I only have a therm.
I'm gonna bubble right here. They're running around, far left. Hit rate blue, 24. They're going down.
They fucked off.
We have light on me. Kid to left.
I'm bubbling up. I bubbled.
Push
this.
Watson one.
I just got ripped. I gotta pop bubble real quick.
They bub.
I'm popping my only bad. I only have 1 cell left. Give me dead. I'm dead. From behind. I'm trying to bubble. Get behind my shield. You can hold my shield.
Ultimate.
You're good.
We need to get the finish.
I'm dead. There's an armor swap behind you, Pride. Behind you. They're pushing up. Claire, armor swap.
Playing low, Claire.
They're pushing up. They're up near. They're up on rock.
Flare stuff. Try to run. They're gonna fight.
We play for second here. You went into them. Fuck.
There you have it. Great to get those comms in at a perfect moment. Unfortunate for Solafide. They're going to get taken out, but they will get 4th place here as it currently stands. Actually, I believe they got 3rd place as Pride was the last one to die. So a great game for Solafide. Great to get those comms as they had to make those rotations. You hear how they do it. You see the armor swap. You see the helmet swap. In the middle of all that pressure, the fact that they're able to swap armor and swap helmet like that is great. Meanwhile, 2 teams remain in this one. It's going to be what we dubbed as the McCarthy Bros. I know Rainday liked that one going up against. I'm not sure. Is it NRG that's last alive here, Jamerson?
It is NRG that is still alive right now. They're on the north-end side now. They do have the, of course, the benefit of some cover to work with on this rotation here, while Shiny, Muffins, and BCJ are going to wrap around. They've got a little bit of cover themselves here. Might actually be in on this corner.
And so some revenge potentially for McCarthy. Of course, that's Muffins and Shiny, the twins from Washington area, playing alongside BCJ and NRG. It's the same exact setup we saw in Game 2. A 3 versus 3 fight between these two squads. This time, it is even playing grounds in terms of elevation. It's going to be BCJ getting some good shots in, but Shiny's going to go down here. 2 versus 2 fight. All up to BCJ. Last member alive. He has some shield to his name. Gets a good flank through. Gets some good shots, and he downs one. Can he get the double kill? Goes for it. Hits a good shot, but he has 2 HP in a dream. He finally gets taken down, and that will be it. Rex is able to clutch the 1 versus 1, but a valiant effort from BCJ, one of the most talented FPS players in esports, as it is going to be NRG who comes out on top again in the 3 versus 3 fight. A huge game for NRG, and that propels them in the leaderboards, Jamerson.
That is going to be absolutely nothing. At this point, it is impossible to tell who is currently in the lead. I'm sorry, I don't have Rain Man kind of math here. And so I'm really excited to see exactly where we land, because I said it was important for TSM to try and survive for as long as they could. They picked up a lot of kill points, and so they are still in contention. And so I don't know if they've been knocked out of first place right now, but with NRG getting these 2 huge games, along with Shiny Muffins and BCJ having another repeat performance like this, the level of competition has become so equal here in North America.
Yeah, evenly distributed points right now. It's not as top-heavy as we saw in a few other of the North American finals with TSM on top. I mean, TSM had 43 points. NRG had 35 points. That's 12 guaranteed points. TSM got taken out relatively early, and I think had a few kills to their name. So again, we're not Rain Man. We're not going to be able to calculate all of that on a whim here. We'll let you know as soon as we do find out. But, I mean, you have to say that might propel NRG to a first place finish, topping TSM. And then let's talk about Solafide. I mean, they take out Rogue, who was in 4th place, kind of controlling their own destiny. They were in 6th, I believe. That should put Solafide in a potential top 4 as well. And of course, Noble was in 3rd. So that shakes things up quite a bit. It looks like it's going to be a crazy finish here yet again. North American finals. Spread the word and get hyped. I'll tell you that much, as we have a 3 or 4 team race for first place. So game 4 certainly did not disappoint. Game number 5 is going to be coming next. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to the desk with Rain Day and Ninjala.
Jamerson Fallout, fantastic cast, boys, and it was a fantastic finish as well. A real slobber knocker. I mean, you got to say, there's a lot that went down in that final fight, and Jayla, we were kind of clenching our teeth. We were holding our breath. We were like, wow, this could be a huge turnaround for BCJ. But unfortunately, the storm got in the way, or the ring got in the way, and it was NRG who claimed the top spot yet again. What was your thought watching all that back?
Dude, whenever the transfer positions where the high ground and the low ground switch positions, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He has Eva, but he maybe he can bring this win home for his team. Unfortunately, he did take the storm damage. Honestly, I was interested to see the fight between Solafide and Complexity. Monsoon, they almost had it. They almost made top 3. So it was cool to see Monsoon's team like really get closer. I see maybe they're inching their way closer to the top 3. Maybe we'll see something. They were pretty aggressive this game too, so I'm liking that.
And that aggression, I think, Jayla, sorry to cut you off, but I think it's like we've seen that work and not work, and it's kind of, though, found them in a net positive location, right? They've kind of gone towards the top end of the top 10 and hitting in those top 6s and 4s and staying involved, not necessarily being top 3 and winning, but they've been around with the potential to pop off for like a huge game, especially with all the kills that they've been grabbing. So really amazing stuff. We do have some final standings for game 4 coming up for you, though, as those are ready, and we do have those in hand. And of course, you know, NRG, they are the ones who are on top of things as far as getting that victory. But it was BCJ, Ice Shiny, and Muffins, the two McCarthy brothers, and Big Boss BCJ, as we're kind of joking around with them. These guys are playing phenomenally. I don't care about the ring. I think, Jayla, like what I'm seeing from them, it's a total new powerhouse as far as their performance as we look at this final moment here.
Yeah, to be able to compete like 3v3 2 times with NRG, and honestly, it ended up in a 1v1. Unfortunately, he did take that storm damage and die, but honestly, it could have been anybody's game right there. So it was cool to see that like clean 3v3 again. They reset and they went directly into that fight, and unfortunately, it didn't work out too well for the McCarthy brothers. But it's nice to see NRG doing their thing.
It is nice. I mean, it's a little refreshing, to be honest. This is a storyline we were preparing in Poland. Like, it's been since last September we've been trying to talk about NRG showing up big, a team with a ton of fan base behind them and a ton of really, I think, momentum heading into it. And finally, we're seeing this could be the turning point. We've got Game 4 results ready for you, like Ed mentioned earlier. Now we can bring them up onto your screen, and it is NRG with first place, but Solafide, holy crap, they take second place with 13 kills, nearly doubling everyone else besides NRG and then some in the lobby. So they earn themselves 20 points. That is going to be huge for them. Ice Shiny, Muffins, BCJ, they grab 15. Complexity with 11, as we mentioned, in fourth place. And then TSM with 7 points in sixth place. That is going to be a really good show for NRG, and TSM are going to fall a little bit to second now, Jayla. NRG 5 points ahead heading into Game 5 with 55 points at the top of the leaderboard. Solafide right behind Team Solo Mid with 10 points behind them at 40. And then you got Noble White, Ice Shiny Muffins, BCJ rounding out the top 5. Complexity also tied for fifth there with Ice Shiny Muffins, BCJ. But Jayla, look at this. I mean, reactions here. NRG, TSM, it is a fight for first between two juggernauts right now. And there's still a lot of teams in contention right below that.
These are definitely two powerhouses, NRG, TSM. So it's interesting to see them at the top. It could be NRG's like first win for the online tournament. So I'm kind of rooting for them. I know TSM, has their track record of being the winners, being on top, but NRG making their name for themselves in this tournament could be like really good for them.
It's kind of this interesting way where you look at life and we're all looking at things in a bigger picture, right? And sometimes you go through these failures again and again, and you go through the wrong things to get to the eventual right place. If you hadn't taken all the wrong turns, you never would have been on the journey to learn what you need to do to get to where you need to eventually be. And that's what it feels like NRG have kind of gone on. They've been on their slipshod journey. They've kind of gone back and forth in terms of one step forward, two steps back. But it feels like they found the right path here, Jayla. And it is setting up for either TSM to really look like reclaiming their throne after not being involved in OT5. And it looks like NRG maybe doing something at the very last OT that we hadn't seen them do before, which is take the victory and kind of claim the top spot in NA. Overall, though, if there's another team, we talked about Complexity, talked about Solafide, we got Ice Shiny Muffins, the McCarthy brothers, and BCJ. Who's standing out to you the most for OT6 and this final game?
Honestly, I'm kind of liking the McCarthy brothers. Just like me not knowing too much about them before, this tournament today, and seeing how they've ended up in the top 3 twice with NRG and competed 3v3s down to a 1v1 and ended up just making it that far it says a lot to me. So I'm kind of looking out for them. Maybe, they'll get top 3.
I hope so. I mean, it's looking like it's shaping up to be a very exciting end to the OTs before we head into the Super Regionals. And we've got highlights of all these exciting ends coming up for you right now as well. Let's take a look at them as we talk about themes of the day. This early start here where we saw just TSM with a beautiful position into the high ground, but you also saw the way that they would get dropped down on, and just the noble, really, I think, aggression into Rogue being able to sweep up that fight as a third party. This is where NRG got going, Jayla. Right at Tree, they started to really find some momentum here.
For sure. This was the first game that they won. That was really interesting, seeing how they dropped down and from the high ground to take that fight. So and they won it and they won that game. And this right here, this is TSM. TSM's win. I'm still rooting for them too. Against the Amos sisters, and this one we have This is when Solafide took out Rogue. That was huge for them, considering Rogue is one of the top teams. So Solafide is definitely making a name for themselves as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think him, Clarifi and Metro, and the way that Solafide as a squad, not only just kind of some standout moments from those players, but I think the way that as a unit that they're working together, it's been really great to see them all continue to grow as a unit in these ALGS tournaments. But, to me, the finish there, BCJ almost clutching it, the way that they were aggressive throughout all of these games, TSM, Rogue, we've seen NRG, we've seen NRG again, taking the second win of the day for them. And now it's starting to get interesting here. Game 5, we've got so many different teams in contention within about 12 points of one another. Jayla, I ask this question all the time. How do we get through this Game 5? Do you go the same direction as you've done, NRG? Do you just stay unfazed, keep the course? Or do you try to do something different and just wow out and say, let's just seal this, let's put this away, let's pop off and get a little more aggressive?
I'm feeling like maybe the teams on the lower end of the spectrum of the leaderboard might be trying some different things. So if they do things differently, then the other players at the top might have to play differently, and match accordingly. So we'll see how everybody does in this last match, how they decide to play.
And that's going to be the difference. I've seen it go a lot of different ways, Jayla. NRG here. A little bit of a back on top tweet from Binary on Twitch. He says, let's go. Back on top, baby. Hashtag ALGS. NRG certainly back where a lot of fans at the beginning of their roster signing and their content signing and the beginning of the Dizzy Wingman days and things like that, where they expected NRG to be. It's been a arduous journey to get to this place, but one game away. And they actually have a chance to take OT6 and head into Super Regionals as the Kings of North America, at least from this tournament as well. Jayla, if you've been following Super Regionals, I've talked about the schedule. What are you most excited about with these Super Regionals as we get a last chance to speak about them here?
What am I most excited about? I'm just excited. Honestly, I'd say I'm excited to be on it and to be casting, to be honest. It's going to be a pretty exciting experience. I'm enjoying my time here with you guys, so hopefully that continues on into the summer.
And you've been doing great, Jayla. Honestly, I mean, it's not easy to come in. So many things going on in the world, so many things going on in your first broadcast, and you're doing such a great job with me and then with Fallout earlier, flexing so many different positions. It's been on a really fun time working with you, and we've still got some more gameplay and some more desk segments coming, so we will get to those in a second. But remember, at Play Apex is where you can find us on socials, on Twitter, at YouTube, and on Twitch. Of course, use hashtag ALGS if you want to get featured. Maybe show Jayla some love on there. It's her first show. She's killing it. Obviously, big content creator in the Twitch community, so we want to always shout back and show love to where love has been given here. It's been a fantastic show, and game number 4 just finished. NRG with another win. TSM 5 points away in second place, and we've got so many other competitors looking for that top spot in North America. It is wide open, and we do not know what's going to happen, but we're going to send it to 2 gentlemen who are going to guide us through the action. Game 5 begins in just a moment. Now let's send it over to your casters to get it started.
Well, here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. An absolute pleasure to bring you the Game 5 that we've all been looking forward to. Onset and Hodzik going to talk you through the action. And Hodzik, we've got 4 teams, I would say, that are really in contention to become a champion. You've got NRG, top of the leaderboard at the moment, 55 points. TSM just in behind on 50. Solafide with a big performance we've just seen on 40 points. And Noble White just behind them on 39. Our big question coming into this is we feel like Circle could potentially have a big influence on who potentially comes out on top here, as we do see the players now dropping into World's Edge for our game number 5.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Circle's determined so much in this game. You saw the first game that NRG won, Tree Circle. NRG lands Tree, as far as I remember. I know Franks really likes that spot. You saw the thermal station Circle. I believe Aim Assist lands there, and they were second on that one. So Circle certainly determines a lot. If we see a northbound Circle, things will get really interesting. TSM, for those that don't know, they drop Fragment East. So it would be interesting to see both these teams so close to each other have to work for their rotation and see how that plays out. And as we see the Circle, oh man,
wow,
it's a Tree Circle. Potentially a Tree, maybe a South Thermal Circle. So this one could potentially be handed. It's NRG's game to throw, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, big early success here for NRG. Something they couldn't control, but something that they will take every single day of the week. You saw that Pathfinder beacon. We saw that second circle over the top of tree and, of course, thermal station. So the fact that they've got that early rotation and they essentially can just set up and be the first team into a prime position is huge for them at the top of the leaderboards here. For TSM, they're going to be making an early rotation from Fragment East, like you mentioned, but one team that's also going to be following them in is Solar Fide, who are currently in third place. So I'll be interested to see if we do see maybe a clash between TSM and Solar Fide here, potentially on the rotation.
Yeah, well, it would be interesting to see, but TSM is not taking any fight right now. They're not taking chances. They typically don't take fights on their rotations, so I would be very surprised if they took one here. But, I mean, Soul Fide has been landing next to them for, like, the last 3 tournaments. They don't typically run into each other. And that's actually, ironically, that is, like, the mark of, in my opinion, some really, like, just smart teams. I'll never understand why, there's some teams that will drop next to each other, and they feel the need to, like, poke at each other and kill each other. It's really, the smart teams can be identified by the ones that value rotating more than anything, more than just one little measly fight. So the fact that they drop right next to each other and they almost never run into each other, definitely a big testament to how much those teams value positioning.
Yeah, I think it's value in positioning, but also maybe just a bit of respect to each other as well. If there's two teams that probably don't want to fight against each other, it's Solar Fide and TSM, because that's going to be an extremely tough fight for them to take. But you can see Complexity here up on top of the building, and they're got a little bit to say about the team underneath them as well. They're trying to get aggressive, and Complexity currently set down in 6th place on 32 points. And we always say that if there's going to be a team who can put in a monster bomb performance, it would be Complexity, but maybe a little bit too much for them to do here. But we are seeing the push in now, and it is going to be a clean wipe there. So Complexity early on here with some KP on the board, and that's the kind of momentum they may need to push them through. But look at this, TSM on that rotation, out early down to 1 HP, but they have managed to at least restabilize a little bit. But looking across the inventory of these teams at the moment, you've got white armors, you've got the Evo shield there on reps as well, a blue armor now onto Albralele, I think he's just found. So that's going to be at least something to work with, but scary moments there for TSM, and they've only managed to move up to this little building outside of Sorting Factory.
Absolutely, and TSM, I mean, you might be looking at this and thinking, wow, their armor situation isn't great, which obviously it's not. But if there's anything that, if you've ever studied any of TSM's gameplay, you'll know that TSM is very good at playing. One of the reasons they're so successful is they are really one of the best teams at playing with little to no loot. Before in Season 3, if you remember where Harvester is now, used to be Field Depot, and that's where TSM landed. And that was some of the worst loot in the game, but they still made it work. They still placed really high and won tournaments at Fuel Depot. So they are very experienced at playing with little to nothing. So don't count them out just because you see, oh man, they got bad armors. Might be a rough one for them. They're just really smart at picking their fights and getting into the right spot. So not too worried about seeing them do poorly.
Yeah, it goes back even further than that. You take ourselves back to Kings Canyon, dropping Cage, not the highest of loot tables there either, and they did so much work with those limited resources, shall we say. But early fights going on here right across the board. We're seeing a fight here over in Lava City, and it's going to be Rambo definitely desperately trying to get away, I should say. Prodigy Ace is taking down to no shields as well, so he's going to have to pop this bat here, and plenty of action going down at the start of game number 5. But we should mention as well, not really action that is going to potentially affect the teams that are currently sat at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see a lot of these edge fights taking, so I don't know if you caught it, but there's actually 3 teams fighting here. Rogue's team here, I'm not sure which team, I didn't catch the names, which team they were chasing. But then as they were chasing them, Rogue, the NRG player, Rogue, not the team, got shot in the back by Sentinels, and I think that's Sentinels kind of sending on them right now. It is, indeed. So actually a lot of teams here look to see maybe the other team coming back to third party this as Joey Blackout goes down. And there it is.
They wiped that. Now we're on board with Liquid as they're moving over towards that thermal station, the 2 buildings just outside of it on the height of this ridge here, and this ridge is such a vital area to try and hold down. It looks like Team Liquid are trying to get aggressive onto this building. They realize how vital that is, and it's Rogue who have lost dropped here in this fight. He's been finished as well, but they have managed to recover the banner from him, and it looks like Sweet now definitely trying to portal out and just get his teammate sniped down into a position maybe where they can re-solidify themselves, maybe look for a res to get, of course, drop back into the game and get up to a full complement of players.
Absolutely, and these players respect each other to know that, you know, they aren't going to be 2v3ing another top team. So Rogue, having gotten the banner, they know their only play is to get out and get the res up on their teammate. Liquid not opting to chase that. They prefer to they're preferring to have a better position on to make sure they lock down this choke. This is a very strong and important choke to hold, because it basically, you can go, the circle can shift to south thermal, those like 2 little buildings on the way southern end of thermal, or it's going to shift all the way to tree. So holding that choke plays a lot of it controls a lot of the tempo of the game and gives you options. More importantly, when you know where the circle is going to end, you're not stuck on one end or the other. So holding that choke, it's a little bit difficult with the terrain and how big it is, but if you can do it, it will pay dividends for you.
Well, I'm keeping my eyes on complexity in this game, because although they are fairly far behind that first place position as far as points on the board is concerned, they are picking up a heck of a lot of KP early on in this game. I think that's their second squad wipe that we've seen so far. That's already 6 points to them. But looking at the kill feed again, and Xenox now and Noct getting very interested with TSM here, and that could be TSM in all sorts of problems. Not sure if Reps has managed to get away in all of that, or it looks like that is TSM out, like you say. And yeah, TSM will not be winning this tournament. NRG now in a fantastic position as they now move up as one of the last 14 squads left. You know, NRG was looking at that kill feed the entire time, and they're now the conversation in NRG's comms right now is shifting to, we cannot take unnecessary risks. All we have to do is just play smart. Don't even force a fight. You don't have to. And it's interesting how like VR works like that. You know. There's a lot of things, a lot of variables that can change while you're in the game, and that changes the way you play. So they're just going to be, look for them to be just playing super aggressive, or super passive, sorry. Not take any big aggressive mistakes, and just try to win the tournament here. And not only is that good news, for NRG, that's also great news for Solafide, who are watching at the moment, who are going to pick up a kill here on Bowser as he goes down, thanks to the hands of the Wingman and Pride. They're in 3rd place at the moment. They were 15 points behind NRG at the start of this game. So with TSM taking themselves out of the equation in this Game 5, it means that Solafide are now the closest competitors to NRG as far as taking their throne. Something to just note right here, Blitz and Noble just took out Frex completely. So NRG, I guess they got caught on their rotation here. They know it's going to end, or they think it's going to end here in the tree. NRG got caught out on that. Frex completely down. If you see, you can see his banner there. It's underneath the main part of tree. NRG or Nathan and Rock are nowhere near it, so I doubt they'll be making a play for it. And what's really tough about losing your Watson, especially in a situation like this, is a lot of teams are going to look to play this house. If you don't have a Watson, one of the things that's inherently missing on your team is showing the presence that you are in that building. You know, anytime teams are looking to rotate, they look for Watson fences and for presence that hey, a Watson is in this building. This isn't free. So with that, having no Watson to show presence like that, it could end up with one team just accidentally pushing NRG and forcing a fight 2v3 because they just didn't know they were in there, or a team calling, hey, this team doesn't have a Watson, this is probably NRG because Frex died, let's push them. So of all players to die, it's really, really unfortunate that it's Frex. Super nervy moments then for NRG fans who are watching at the moment. I'm sure they're there desperately hoping the last 2 players alive can pull out something special as far as their tournament is concerned, and at least scrape into those placements and make sure they keep that point advantage to take home at the championship. We're going to see Sentinels moving in now and picking up more KP, and that's going to be onto the McCarthy brothers, and they will be going down. Now we're going to see them moving once again towards the ring now, playing the edge quite comfortably at the moment. They've got a fair few KP to their name as well, so lots of aggression being shown in this game by different various teams, and it seems like the aggressive teams at the moment are the ones who are having the success. Right, I mean, this is when the wacky stuff starts to happen. Teams need kill points. Crust taking a lot of damage here. Seems like Xenox is trying to make the call to get the heck out. And then you see Complexity are the aggressors here. Wade does come in as well. That's going to down Crust, and now you're going to see Peach with the Gibby shield up and trying desperately to get away. But the problem is, the one team is trying to get away from is Complexity, and a big, massive shot there is going to take down Peach. And now Xenox is going to be the last man alive for more sensible, desperately trying to get away. The zone's closing in on him. Manages to get an armor swap to keep himself alive for just a few extra moments. And it looks like Complexity, no surprise, trying to chase him down because they see KP on the board, and that is what they need to make up this gap at the top.
Yeah, I mean, with TSM not being in it, that means they're pretty much stuck, I believe, at 50 points. It's not above Complexity to put up a 30-point game. Complexity can still come back, and even though they have the very W key playstyle, they know a lot of these teams that don't have points are forcing fights now because they know they need kill points, which is why you see a lot of fighting. It's zone 3. There's plenty of room still in the zone, but you only have 13 squads left. A lot of these teams know they need kill points. Solafide, don't be surprised if Solafide gets aggressive because they know that TSM is down. They know that that Frex is down on NRG. But they also know that they need points. So don't be surprised to see Solafide maybe taking some risks here. I believe they were 10 points behind TSM coming into this game. So it's really interesting as you get into the later stages of the tournament, how much the game and decision-making is influenced by just what happens in the kill feed. So it's very big events that have happened here. I'm curious to see how this all plays out.
And all of the gunshots that are ringing out at the moment across World's Edge, they're going to be great news for NRG as well, because they still haven't been contested in that building there, right at the south side of the tree. So for every team that drops, that's a step closer to NRG winning this tournament potentially as they get into those high placement points. So very interesting developments to occur in the rest of this game number 5 in our final game here of online tournament number 6. Team Liquid still holding down this choke, and you can see exactly why. Still not sure on where that rotation is going to be as they're now pinging some targets to maybe try and pick up some KP themselves.
Absolutely, they know they need a big game as well, and once you secure a really strong choke like this, you know no one's really at your back. That's why you saw them at the Rock. They're kind of scouting around to see if there's any teams, because they are going to get into fights here, and once they get into a fight here, they need to know what teams are around them, and they need to know how much time they have to reset after they force a fight. So they're going to be looking to hold out. You see there's 2 teams. Obviously, they don't know this, but you see there's 2 teams right outside the choke here, and there's 1 team down in the tunnel. So they're going to be looking to hold all these teams out and just choke them out, hopefully picking up some easy kill points, and maybe securing themselves some even better loot.
We should move here.
G7 Scout going to be the perfect weapon for that as well, just harassing all the players that are trying to move in. However, Flanker gets absolutely beamed by some shots coming into him. He's going to be forced to back down here and pop the bat to get up to full armor. The thermite grenade's going to come in as well and back down very, very quickly. There's a portal flashing in front of him as well, so all sorts of action going down. And look at this Complexity. Look at the inventory across the board here for all of these players. Lou, all red Evo shield. Look at Monsoon, purple on him, and Reptile with a full red Evo shield as well. And when you're an aggressive team and you like to push fights, having that extra HP is perfect here for Complexity.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Complexity, it looks like they're in a battle at the moment. I want to see how the comms are in this Complexity lineup, see how aggressive they're being, and see what the comms are like as they're trying to execute on these fights.
They're looking.
They're in. I'm going back. I'm going back. They're in.
Back up.
I'm just going in. Can we take mid? Or under mid or something? Can you look for it up there?
Yeah, I can definitely look.
TP?
I'm gonna TP right now, okay?
Yep.
Team from the south, Mon, is looking to move in.
Okay.
Just look for a good spot. If it's not good, we can just walk in and play under late. I took TP automatically.
Yeah.
Coming?
I think
we
we're fine.
Can just take up top? Right? Can we just take up top?
Yeah, we can. If we need to take TP, we do. We don't have to play this. We don't have to, because this is sort of shit, bro.
We can always play fucking west.
Start setting up fences and shit. I think we're
getting
fine.
over here. 47 on that guy. 47 perp.
Hey, man, try not to agitate anybody, because the more people we shoot, the more people are gonna want to shoot at us.
This guy's in the middle of the open as well.
I'm gonna play under, because I think under's a little safer.
Okay. I mean, we can also play on both of these staircases.
There's a team here. They gotta come out, this team, so they're probably gonna try and play under us.
That's fun. We don't hold them. We drop on the last damage.
Yeah,
how are you guys doing on met? I have 2 cell, 1 bat.
I have 12 here. I dropped you 4 right there.
I dropped you so much. We have a blue armor.
Yo,
somebody grab the bat. Somebody grab the bat.
Look at them.
Yeah. Somebody grab the bat.
Look at them, boys. Look at them. I'll grab the bat. They're hard fighting there.
Yeah, I'm
gonna pop an ult cell to see if I can.
Yo, we might be able to third party. This is the best part of the game.
Going under. Almost cracked that guy.
I've taken 20.
Yeah, we just can't lose our spot. Then we have the spot.
I don't. Yeah.
Right here.
I don't know what the fuck is happening because this team's so.
back. Careful. All right, we're chilling. I want to make sure North doesn't walk up on us. We're good. How many? Can we put more fences down?
Yeah, I can.
I'm not shooting at the team on top of the hill. How many shotgun shells do you guys have?
0.
Do you need some?
I have none reserved. Thank you.
That team's not in after this. That team's not in over there.
I hit him 110 on purple.
There's someone near us. Under us.
West. It's good. We just stay up. All we have to do is wait for the teams under us to fight, and then we can drop in third party.
Yep.
Just do not overpeak on the stairs.
I know. I almost knocked one down there.
Okay.
They have shit fucking armor. They have white armor, blue armor.
Yeah, I know. If we go down, we're gonna get thirded. Yeah, this team's already looking.
Okay.
This team's not in either, so they have to go somewhere.
I saw a bubble.
I just cracked one.
Bro, Gibby.
I cracked one too.
Come back up.
Yeah, I cracked Gibby. I'm
popping you back. So the Gibby under us is literally 1 health. I hit him for 80 flesh.
They're safe over here. They're safe.
Oh, they are.
Okay. Under us right here. Hit 150. 1 HP.
We can hear the comms there from Complexity, Hodzik. Lots of calls being made, lots of decisions being made. What stood out for you?
The biggest one, and I'm not surprised, but the one that I thought was really funny was the second they took this spot, Lou was saying, don't agitate teams, and Monsoon's over there calling damage, popping wingman shots across the map. Liquid going down here in a really strong spot as well.
And Complexity are the team who are putting pressure on as well. I see Cross going down. That's going to be Sentinels taken out by Complexity. And RG as well. I've just seen in the feed as well. Zaku's taken down Rocker, so looks like Rogue being taken down as well. So many battles going down, and this might open the door here for Solar Fide potentially to steal it.
Still 3 men up.
Still alive down here. 3 men up, like you say. And with a little bit of time here just to reset and set up their next move, but Solar Fide have done a great job here of finding themselves into a position where the teams ahead of them have been taken down, so there's a real opportunity here for them to potentially steal away a first place spot here.
Yeah, terrible zone, though. Half of it is in the mountains, so this is going to be really tough for a lot of the players. Basically, the game plan for most of these teams will be either A, play for kill points, or B, just stall your life as much as possible. Every millisecond you stall can give you more placement points, because teams are going to be dropping like flies. Half of this next circle is in. Don't be surprised to see only a top 3 situation after this one, so I'm curious to see if they go for kill points or just try to stall as much as possible.
Yeah,
but then wasting their
to get another kill
can be really bad.
The bubble, as you say, early. We wasted a little bit. It means they're going to be trapped out in the open for all of these teams who are surrounding them to potentially land some nades and land some shots onto them. But Complexity are the team who are looking to land some massive shots. Monsoon's going to be moving in here. You can see 5 kills to the name of Monsoon. It's only him. Now using that Gibby bubble to try and get out of dodge here, but Complexity are taking damage. Monsoon does get taken down, so now it's just Reptar, the last man alive here. For Complexity has to pop the bat, and looking across the feed as well, it's actually not, and Zaku managed to pick up those kills, and now we're going to see Reptar dropping down. He picks up 1, goes back up top here. There is a Wraith in front of him, doesn't hit the wingman shot initially. Now there's some connecting. He's just surrounded by players here. He's desperately trying to stay alive, and that will be the end of Complexity's run in our game number 5.
And Solar Fide still standing strong as 3. This could be their game. They could very well be the winners here. I mean, they seem like they have decent kills across their team. All the other teams are fragmented and fighting each other over there. They might actually... This is almost their game to throw, kind of.
4 squads remaining then. You say Solar Fide, the one team who could potentially dethrone NRG, who are out of this game as we said, currently top of the leaderboard. Solar Fide on 40 points, 15 points behind before this game got underway. Force for the last man alive for this squad as well, desperately using that knockdown shield to try and keep him alive for just a few extra seconds, and it's going to be Silver Fox. Noko up on top of the building as well, and inside here, now the team that we're talking about, Solar Fide now coming under lots of fire themselves, so it's going to be all up to Pride here to be the last man alive for them, to try and rout, to try and pull out something special as the solo in this situation when there's 2 squads alive.
He's got a little cozy spot here. It's just going to be a matter of praying that nobody looks at him. And most of these teams are typically going to be, at this point, focusing on each other. So he might actually be solid here for a top 2 situation.
And we are going to see the shots now coming in, and it's going to be Arcan who gets the first knock here. Onto Zach. Noko's going to go down as well, and here comes Pride, maybe just waiting for his moment here to strike. Try and put some pressure on, but no, there's a Rogue Watson behind him, and he gets taken down by Nox. The question now is, can he turn a 3rd place into a 2nd place? No, he cannot, and it's going to be Saucer here. Top of the building, trying to finish up this fight, manages to hit the wingman shots as well. It's going to be the self-res. All they have to do is finish it off, and they will be your champions here of the final game. But the bigger picture needs to be talked about. We saw NRG and TSM being knocked out pretty early in that game number 5. Have Solar Fide done enough to make up that 15-point differential and really put in a challenge here to become a champion?
Yeah, I'm sure TSM did not get many points. I think they went out like 15th, so that's probably one. NRG, even though they lost Frex, I did see them pick up at least 1 or 2 kills on top of they got to at least like top 10. So they picked up a couple points, and that might be their saving grace. But you saw there at the end, I believe Noct went, he knew that there was just one more left on Solafide. I believe he went purposely looking for him because typically when your team is losing a fight like that in a hard 3v3, top 3 situation, the play is typically just find that last rat, kill him off real quick, get the kill point and the placement point for being 2nd, and that's a win in their book as far as they're concerned. So it's going to be really interesting to see, man.
Yeah, HRN, they're the team who won that game number 5, just getting confirmation. Of course, we saw it on our screens. But again, this is the beauty of Battle Royales, and this is the beauty of the format. We don't quite know how those points are going to tally up, who is going to be crowned champion. And that's what we've got to wait for now. As I say, we're waiting for the guys on the desk to break it all down and work it all out. And I need to say, Hodzik, it's been an absolute pleasure to cast alongside you in the booth. I know we've been looking forward to a long time. And from the UK as well, to everyone over in America at the moment, just make sure you stay safe in a difficult time. But for now, we are going to send it back to the analyst desk to find out who is our champion. Best of luck working it out, guys. It's over to you.
Thank you so much, Onset. Hodsec, one hell of a broadcast. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. What an amazing finish to a day that has been full of fireworks, Jayla. We see a team that hasn't really been introduced in the same way that some of the other squads have, with the same fireworks today, and that is HRN and Sorcerer and Hill and RKN. Great players, and they finally get the win here. But the story was really about following along with Solafide, and could they do it? Did they find enough in their placements to usurp NRG, who started out 15 points ahead of them? And overall, I'm not sure they were able to do it.
It was cool seeing like the last few teams that were left in a circle were actually teams that we hadn't been talking about. Like in the last game, we were like pretty much focusing on NRG and TSM and wondering which one of them would take the win. But I think that Solafide did a good job of giving NRG for sure in that last game, run for their money. So I'm excited to see like who actually came out on top.
It's the moment we're waiting for. We're just going to keep you with bated breath for a second, obviously, as we look at some of the final moments of that game, because it really was a circle that could have gone either way for these squads, especially Solafide, who got caught here, but they ended up finding some crucial kills towards the end. And, of course, tried to rat it out, but it was ultimately a couple wingman shots and HRN cleaning up a fantastic score. And that does lead us to our Game 5 results that are coming up very shortly on your screen. We have those available. HRN obviously getting a big win there with 21 points. And those are not easy to come by, Jayla. So even though not necessarily involved in the race for first, strong performance. Got to show some love to HRN. Both, all three of those players have been playing Apex and grinding. And good shout outs to them, obviously grabbing a win there.
Yeah, definitely. Huge shout out to HRN for winning that game. We hadn't seen much from them the previous games, but they came through with the win for their team. So definitely is putting them on the map. I see that Complexity has 13 kills, man. They were kill hungry that game. They were chasing teams. They were shooting at anybody they could shoot at. It was really fun watching them play that last game and seeing them prioritize their placement, but also still try to get the kills at the same time.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have the moment you've been waiting for. OT6 is won by none other than NRG. They pull it through, and they grab the final OT6 in Apex Legends ALGS. Before we head to the Super Regionals, NRG is on top, and Solafide will come in second, TSM in third, with Complexity and Noble White right behind them in fourth and fifth. The story, though, Jayla, the ups and downs, the trials, the adversity, fighting through all of it to finally, at the last chance, grab the victory over North America and head into the next phase of summer on top. What a performance by NRG today.
I am so proud of this team. I remember seeing them back in Poland. Obviously, a completely different team composition there. And now we have these new players. They had some difficulties, as I said earlier, getting into the quals, some technical difficulties. But they came out on top. I'm actually amazed at their performance. I'm so happy for them. I'm sure I can only imagine how they're feeling right now.
I mean, I feel like catharsis is the only word that comes to mind, right? Like just a relief, like the tension, the expectation. I mean, not only just in esports in general, how impactful NRG is and the moves that they make, but just in Apex, they're kind of synonymous with some of our most famous content creators in this scene. And the pro play just wasn't there for them. It was just communication. It was passion. It was not the right fit. And finally, it seems like these guys have found something that works. Frex, Nathan, Rocker. I mean, you look at the way that this composition has put itself together, Jayla. Just speak a little bit about these guys and what they do behind the scenes to be even put in a position to take this win here.
I can only imagine being these guys on NRG right now, like living up to like Asu, Dizzy, some of the biggest people in the Apex scene. I'm sure like they had a lot of people coming out here and just performing as well as they possibly could. I know it's probably a lot of stress. I know I've been in a few smaller like tournaments myself, and I crack under pressure. But it's cool to see them like how they hold up, and like no matter what they've gone through the past, like whether it be like the quals, the issues that they had, and like the technical issues, they still came out and gave their best, and they came out on top for it.
And we do have the kill leader ready as well. Another surprise, but this is more for the solo fraggers. Let's take a look at that one, because as you can see, it goes to Monsoon, the man, the myth, the legend. His team scoring a very strong number 4 here in the overall standings, but he takes the top spot. Rep's right behind him. And of course, Reptar from Complexity right behind him. And Frex, we talked about Nathan, we talked about Rocker, but Frex really one of the first ones to be introduced here and trying to mesh with that old squad, part of the new regime of NRG, and look at how much it has impacted them. Him coming in fourth with Lou rounding it out. Complexity, no surprise to be on the top of that kill leaderboard though, Jayla.
Yeah, I'm 100% not surprised to see Complexity top 5 on the kill leaders. Just watching them every time you're respected and watching them chase around teams and make sure they got their kills was just so fun to watch them. So it's cool to see them at the top of the kill leaders.
You know, we've seen Season 5 give us a lot of different changes. We have a new legend introduced in Loba, but we didn't see her today. And in fact, I think today you look at it, and my POV is we've seen a lot of the same work very, very well. And teams playing patiently, teams playing more aggressively. But if anything is kind of the biggest conversation piece for me as far as themes in this season, it's parity. I mean, not only have like weapons gotten better that were kind of, you could never use it. You know, they'll buff a little alternator. So it's not the worst, but you still like your R99. You have more parity around weapons. You have more parity around the teams as they grow and become better players. I mean, what are your thoughts on how we're seeing this NA scene evolve and how many threats there are really looking at having a shot at taking first place here, not only in these OTs, but now in the upcoming Super Regionals?
I think that the buff to certain weapons has been really huge. Like now you can land, grab a RE45 and still do pretty well with it. I know I saw somebody running a Mozambique like hammer point, like these weapons that you typically like wouldn't like think that would work in your favor. They're still like holding up against like if you have the aim like with those guns, like you can still pretty much like compete against anybody. So it's cool to see like no matter like even if they don't have the ideal loadout, they're still like getting these kills with these weapons.
And still having, I think, a lot of success no matter what they're doing, as long as they continue to evolve and adapt. We have some big plays, though, that, and talking about adapting, led to some big moments. And one of them, it's in Game 2, our play of the day. And this was NRG. They were taking it away with some strong momentum. Final minutes, dominating high ground performance, very strategic, and no player comms as well. And I think we're trying to get that up on your screen in just a moment. If not, yep, there it is. Just a fantastic kind of hold here at Tree, Jayla. And what did you see here that was impressive to you? Because NRG, they certainly ended up with the result they wanted.
NRG stopped the rotation of Solafide into the circle while the McCarthy bros were shooting at Solafide. So they were able to eliminate that team and make a clean 3v3 with the McCarthy brothers. It looked like they were like using their zip to like go down and take some shots and come back up. But this is the position that ultimately like won them the game. So it's pretty huge that they kept that high ground and they didn't like push and try to get like the kills, but more so playing for first place.
Patience, not only one of those things that will help you in life, but obviously in Apex, just taking the right approach. You can let your enemies come to you. Beautiful Wraith portal back, and as we look at this even closer, it's NRG just holding this high ground at Tree, where they ended up landing, we believe, to start this game. So sometimes there isn't a lot of movement in Apex, especially when you have that Pathfinder, you have the recon, you know where this circle is trending, and they just said, we'll hold here, and we will ride with ourselves. We'll bet on our own, and that bet certainly paid dividends.
It's interesting to see like them jump down. I wonder what it was, like what moment it was when we were like, okay guys, we're gonna jump down and we're gonna kill this team. Because honestly, it probably could have stayed up top.
Yeah, I mean, there was no reason why. I think you look at it though, and sometimes there is a line between too patient and saying, okay guys, we have, we've knocked two. The one guy is 50 health. We can all drop down and finish this off. No need to try to, let's see if they can self-revive inside the zone and maybe come through for another fight. Let's finish it where we can. And I think that was the statement NRG were making. Playing safe, playing confident, but then obviously when the moment struck and it was worth it for them, they moved in. And that's why they are your champions here in OT6. What a performance. And let's talk about the tweets that have been coming through. We've seen them, hashtag ALGS. They've been flooding my timeline. A lot of you people have been adding me as well at Rain Day Gaming on Twitter. But this one comes from family right here. Mark Onset. You just heard him cast it. Dubbed so big. Great to see NRG back at the top of Play Apex. Hashtag ALGS ladder. Amazing performance, especially with what must have been the squeakiest Game 5 to be a part of. Congrats, boys. Frex, Rocker, Apex, and Nathan GG. Now, that's how you compose a tweet. I mean, I'd say he's a good caster, but I got to talk to him about tweet composition at this point. He's definitely got a leg up on whatever I'm doing. But shout outs to them, Jayla. Are you seeing any tweets on the timeline that stood out to you about NRG getting the win?
Actually, I haven't had a chance to like take a look at the timeline yet, but I'm sure there's plenty of tweets. I'm so nervous. All I could do is look at this camera, but I'm sure there's plenty of tweets about NRG winning. I'm sure a lot of people are excited to see them come out on top of this online tournament.
Let me ask you this, because you play Apex, you're a big part of the Twitch community, you're a content creator, and yet you are very involved now in the Apex competitive scene. There's been so many conversations and stories and I don't know, I guess bigger ways that the teams are perceived. I think we early thought that TSM was untouchable. We found out that other teams can have value. We see OT6 with Liquid and Rogue having some success. We see Skirt having success. Now with NRG winning, what do you think that does to NA? Is it just an open region now, or is it still TSM's world and everyone's hoping to live in it? Or is that kind of time gone and it's a new phase that you see kind of opening up? What does this win kind of lead to you and your impressions for the future of North American Apex?
I feel like initially people definitely saw TSM as like the powerhouse for NA, but there have been other teams like Liquid that have won before, and I feel like this is giving people more initiative to work harder. Showing like these teams showing that your hard work does pay off, and no matter who you're going up against, even if it's TSM, you still have the opportunity and the chance to show up and win just like anybody else.
It's a beautiful way to step forward into a new day. And if you want to talk about your thoughts, what do you think the North American meta will look like with the teams, with the legends, with the weapons? Use hashtag ALGS to tweet at us. We'll be reading those and maybe saving them for a future broadcast as well. Maybe you did some, big brain predictions about what's going to happen at the Super Regionals, and we'll bring it up at the Super Regionals and say, this person was right as well. Make sure you know when those are. June 21st is when we begin. That is 21 days from now. Then July 12th and 26th, we'll have only a week or so in between those two. And then August 9th will be a big one. My cousin's birthday as well. I don't know if I can make the party. I will definitely be casting this bad boy. But I'm excited to celebrate not only him and the winners, of course, leading into the playoffs, which will be in September. A big schedule for us, Jayla. And I think when you look at it, if you ever want the information around what's happening with competitive Apex, go to playapex.com/ALGS, and you can register for those Super Regionals on June 9th with Battlefy. So remember to register, battlefy.com/ALGS. Remember, it's playapex.com/ALGS for all the info, and battlefy.com/ALGS on June 9th if you want to sign up and try to partake in that Super Regional where we're combining regions, increasing prize pool, and setting even more teams together to try and find the best of the best heading into the end of the year. It's going to be so much fun, and we cannot wait to do it with you. But right now, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in our homes. There's a lot of lighting. We got to turn this stuff off. And so we're going to say thank you for everyone who's been watching us. Thank you for the viewers during this time to actually find a little bit of time with us to hang out and enjoy something we all love. When there's not always everything we can agree on outside in the world, I think it's lovely that we can agree on that we love Apex, we love gaming, and we love coming together for these shared experiences. So thank you to all the viewers. Thank you to the crew working hard behind the scenes. Thank you, Jayla, as well, for hanging out on Desk, your first broadcast. Incredible stuff. Can't wait to see you back. And a big shout out to all of the casters as well. I'm not sure if they're going to wave at you, but big shout out to our caster pairs and everyone who's been involved in today's broadcast. It's been a fantastic time. And of course, joined by Jayla here on the desk. My name is Rain Day. I really appreciate you guys. Remember to stay safe out there. We love you. And as always, never give up, never stop gaming. And we will see you all next time.